How's everyone?
Okay.
Oh, I like your bikini top, Monica. It's
Oh.
awesome.
It's very warm down here already.
Where are you?
In Dunsborough.
I'm in Albany.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Much cooler here.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, pleasure. It's much needed, isn't it?
It is. I just see one of my friends has got a business at the Wanneroo Markets and just seen one of his videos shared yesterday about him being arrested for not wearing a mask. And, yeah, it's just crazy times. We just need to have that responsibility for ourselves and learn what we need to know.
Oh, absolutely. It's imperative. I'm looking forward to what Warren's got to share today, actually, because he and I have been working this in the last over 20 years, actually, and to see it actually happen now with the with everyone challenging our mindset and our emotions, everything. It just like, wow, we weren't fantasizing. It's actually we're living it now. And so how do we maintain our equilibrium, our symmetry and balance in our emotions and our mental state? So today, what I'd really like to do is go through, I don't know if you guys are aware of the emotional spiral, just to have a look at something that's physical and that we can look at it practically. And we can discuss it openly, how do we navigate the times that we're in right now.
Be back in 2 minutes.
Sure. Let me just bring it up. Okay. Go. Steve will be familiar. Steve, what I like to do is go through the spiral, emotional spiral. Now,
yeah, it's a good tool. Hey, just before you do that, Grace, I did see a really interesting meme this morning that said, "Don't worry, WA. Mark McGowan's dropping all mandates on February 30."
Oh, really?
February 30. February 30. There's no February 30. It's a play. It's a play on words. Rule number 6, Grace. Rule number 6. February 30.
I just got it.
I told somebody about rule number 6 yesterday, actually. So we should do one.
Oh my God! I have my blonde moments. Excuse the blonde. Oh.
Yeah, WA's back to normal on February 30, right?
Yeah, the 27th, 28th. Oh, geez. Here we go. You've just been at the beach too, have you, Penny?
No, actually, I didn't get it. I haven't left the house for days. But the garden's pretty good. It's not salty, of course, but it does the job.
I tell you what, it's made a difference for me going to the beach every day.
Oh yeah.
There's again, the beach, the water is the feminine, it's healing, it's flowing. And so that's the first thing I do. First thing in the morning, get up and go straight to the beach, go walking up and down and just really soaking in the salt, all the natural elements. And it just makes wonders, except my hair's kind of gone afro a bit with all the sea salt. But so yeah, what I would really like to do is, if it's all right with you, Steve, if we can just go through the emotional spiral, and we can discuss it openly this morning, leading to what Warren's message will be in the spiritual warfare and how to deal with the mental state, because all of us are being affected by it, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be really useful, Grace, because it's a useful tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm happy to share the impact that it's had on me in the last sort of 10 days or so whenever we first started looking at it.
So here we are. I've just got it off your messenger chat. So if you'd like to, because you're just a wonderful teacher, Steve, I'm going to throw the ball at you.
All right, I'll catch it.
Okay, thanks.
So, to give some context to this and why this is important, Grace and I were chatting. I don't know, time sort of days float into each other or merge into each other. So I'll go 10 days ago or so. Grace said to me, "How are you this morning?" I said, "I'm just fucking grumpy. I'm just grumpy. I don't know why. Just grumpy." Like, and you asked me a few questions, Grace, and I couldn't really answer them. At least answer them effectively. I didn't actually know why I was pissed off. I was grumpy. Like, it was kind of just that I was. And when you shared this with me, I realised how often, almost as a default position, I would have a negative thought and I would really quickly spiral down. And so my feeling pissed off or grumpy, I also realised it started with boredom. I mean, I guess I'm an intellectual sort of person. I've got a busy mind. And when my mind is bored, you can see what the next step is down, right? And it's what I've loved about this is it's been a really good tool to actually look at where I am in any particular moment. When I wake up first thing in the morning, well, maybe not first thing, but early in the morning, when in the first 10 minutes or so, I'll look at where I am, and then it gives me a framework to actually put some form around. Because often when you and I were talking, Grace, when we feel shitty, it's just this it's this unformed, or it can be this unformed, shitty, awful, irky feeling. Sometimes we can identify it. I'm angry at X, or the government's annoying me, or whatever it might be. But sometimes it's not that. It's just a feeling that's not great. And this is such a good tool for putting shape and form to that. And I think the way my mind works is if I can understand something intellectually, it seems easier for me to understand something emotionally. And so by using this tool and looking at it every day, a number of things have come to me. Number one, when my mind gets bored, it quickly spirals downwards. That's the first thing. So and there is, as you mentioned, Grace, a Bible verse that's about guarding your thoughts, right?
Yes.
Guard your thoughts, guard your mind. I realised how little I'd actually done that, or at least how ineffectively I have done that in my life. And so there was this tendency for me to spiral downwards really quickly and just get grumpy and pissed off, and all of those words on there below the line, I have to own, because I've been many of them for long periods of time. And I guess the other thing, and it's not that I didn't know this, but the other thing that really stood out for me is, and I think that the power of this was that it does give form and shape to an emotional thing, which is sometimes formless. But the other thing that stood out for me was, if it's easy to spiral downwards and all those awful negative things that make me feel pissed off and all those things, why can't I just as easily spiral upwards and feel better during the day? And so I really connected to and really resonated with and really got a lot out of this particular thing, because it gave shape and form and meaning and gave context to how I'm feeling in the moment.
Because, like, for me, for example, I love the visual. I learn a lot through visual. Everyone learns different ways, different kinesthetics. So I'm pretty much visual. So when I use this tool, looking at the spiraling, whether descending or ascending, it makes it a lot easier to visualize. Well, because how you're supposed to visualize energy, how you're supposed to visualize emotions, and having this visual, this picture, so I can create something in my mind to allow me to feel, to sense, to do the breathing, to slow down, to really feel the essence of what's going in my chemistry, in my body.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that, exactly what you said, Steve, boredom, because I get into trouble when I get bored.
Yeah.
So when my mind gets bored or I'm emotionally bored, I tend to go into my fantasy. I tend to go to, again, imaging and looking to the future or going backwards. So having the straight line right in the center, either you're bored or you're calm. And so whichever state you're in, then you're either going to ascend or descend. And also we talked about the thing with Stephen that when you descend, how quickly do you descend?
Oh, yeah.
It's actually really quicker to go down than go spiraling up. It takes an effort spiraling up. Christina and I were talking about it this morning. It requires a lot of work ascending. Descending doesn't.
I think, too, the interesting thing about this, Grace, if you look in the middle where boredom is, it's still green. It's very close to calm and optimism. Yeah, so it's almost like that tipping point. You could go either way. And if I think about my own mental patterns, if I'm boredom, then I actually go quite quickly, I think, to judgment. Why are you bored? You should be busier. And then I go quickly into self-pity. And then there's...
I miss you too, man. But I don't want to bother you.
All right, can you just mute yourself if you're having a conversation outside of here, please? That'd be appreciated. It's easy then to really go down, to go into self-pity, and then I'm doubtful, and then I'm impatient because I haven't achieved what I thought I should have achieved. And it all just started with boredom, mental boredom, emotional boredom. And, I look at all those words and I'm thinking, oh, shit, I've been so many of them, and the negative self-talk, and, then you feel irritation and, why am I like this? And then I feel guilty for feeling like this. And then I feel the shame and unworthy of blah, blah, blah. And then, oh, God, anyway, that's maybe I'm just an emotional mess and other people are different. I don't know. That's how it's been for me, Grace. Anyway.
Sounds perfectly normal to me.
The human side, didn't you say, Steve?
Yeah, totally. No, that's our humanity, right? And that's if we're being totally honest and authentic, we have to be honest and authentic about our humanity, and our humanity is not perfect.
Yeah, if you want to share, Penny, free to have a word, or anyone, Joanne, Irene, I noticed you made comments there. Free to unmute yourself and just let's hear your voice. This is part of the platform that we created. The first hour is that we share our thoughts, our feelings, and see if we can collaborate together and ascend together.
I can, it's Irina. I can relate to the boredom, but also I find it's not just boredom. I find overwhelm. Yeah, I guess the overwhelm instead of boredom can send me spiraling down there, where I feel like I haven't got time for myself, where I've got so much to do. But that's that self-talk, isn't it? Where you feel there's no time, because time is the most precious thing we have, really, isn't it, in this reality? We think that money is, but we exchange our time for money. And it's really I waste time as well. That self-judgment too. Maybe, we're not meant to be busy 100% of the time. And when I am busy 100% of the time, when I'm not sleeping or running around doing stuff for other people as well, I start to get resentful, and I don't know. It's really hard to sort of be in that place of feeling balanced for me.
Yeah. Well, this is, again, it's just one of the modalities that we can use. It's like the drama triangle, having a look at where we're at and recognizing and owning it. And this is just another modality that we can measure ourselves. And it's fantastic where you, like you said, Irina, you go from overwhelm to judgment. You notice the process. You notice that it takes you to lower and lower and lower until you come to death.
Yeah, or the no will to live. I've been there before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and I like the spiral. I like the visual of it because it makes I can see. I think it's something I should pin on my fridge or the back of my toilet door so I can look at it on a daily basis and go, where am I? Where am I now? How am I feeling? You know, just checking with that and trying.
Yeah, it's a good tool. It's a good tool like that, right? And like I said, it gives that form and that shape to what is often a formless and shapeless thing in our emotion. And so I've got that on my phone. Like you, I printed it out on my desk. It's there. It's a visual tool to check in when I'm feeling something.
Yeah.
Where is it? Where is it? And then it enables me to look at why I got there and then how I can get out of that.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll actually share it on City Awakening Telegram for everyone has that.
That's awesome. Thanks, Grace.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll do that now.
So thanks for that. I really, I can I resonate or can relate to this.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment about that as well. I think having this tool actually helps you to become conscious of your thoughts too. Because if you're unconscious, you just spiral down or whatever. But when you're actually conscious, having a look at this, it actually makes you think, gives you an opportunity to change your state. And as Grace said before, it's so easy to spiral down and it's more difficult to spiral up. But you have to know where you are before you can even do that. So for me, it's being conscious and being aware, but I think this tool really helps to do that.
Yeah. And when you look at it as a group consciousness, imagine Australia in your state or community, and then you go worldwide where everyone's at.
Yeah, even Grace, something as simple as flick through social media and you see the extremes of comments, right? That can take you from a place of calm down to bitterness really, really quickly. You know, it's and when we're not guarding our thoughts, and when we're just on the hamster wheel or in a state of unconsciousness, it's so easy to go there.
And even in fantasy, I'm often in my own fantasy world. So when I get into fantasy, I get caught up in the dissension. And so it's just, for me, a matter of, okay, that's the state where I'm at. Come back to myself, earth myself, ground myself, and then take stock. Where am I at? Rather than, being driven to fantasy.
Yeah, actually, that's a really interesting thing. And Christine, you and I have spoken about this quite a lot in terms of those thoughts, those emotions quite often are not real, right? They're our ego's perception. So if you find yourself in that anger or failure or whatever it might be, is that really real? Or is it just your ego's perception? And it can feel like it's really real. It absolutely feels real, but is it really? Have you changed at all? Are you the same? Take away all your titles, your status, where you live, all that sort of stuff. Have you really changed in that moment to be, to be full of sorrow and shame and bitterness? And probably the answer is no. And so, Christine, I'd love your take on that, because you actually, I don't know, last week, the week before, really brought that up of how what we feel sometimes and think about ourselves, it's an ego projection and it's not real. Have you got anything to say about that?
Yes, I can remember saying that, and what came to mind really was that if it's possible to change your state in a very short space of time, like sometimes you can do it instantly, sometimes it takes a little while, but if you can actually change your state, how can it be real? Because if it was real, you would never be able to change your state, not feeling about it. So therefore, you know, we have, if it's not real, and you can recognise that it's not real, it actually makes it easier to change your state. You think it's only a thought. It's like, for me, it's like you have a belief about something and you're firmly fixed in that belief, and then somehow you get some information which gives you a totally different slant on the whole perspective, and then all of a sudden you're in a different place. So how can you do that if it's actually real? It's like we're wandering around in this, it's not a vacuum, but it's this artificial place in our mind that we can shift from spot to spot.
Well, I guess the thing is, it feels real, doesn't it, in the moment?
Oh, without a doubt. It definitely feels real. Sometimes it feels really awful.
Yeah.
But when you change your state, you think, oh, I'm in a different place. You're still actually that physical person, but in your mind, you're in a different place. So what the question is, what's going on in your mind, really? Your mind's creating everything, I've discovered.
Sometimes that's scary, right? What's going on in my mind? Ouch. What a great place to look sometimes.
Absolutely. But it's an interesting thing to think about because it makes it easier to actually change your mind.
Yeah.
You're in a different place. You know, you can actually, once you've done it a few times, you think, oh, I was somewhere else and now I'm here. And you can actually choose where you want to be, which is pretty amazing when you come to think about it.
Yeah.
So that changes your whole place where you are in the world, your outlook on everything. You can put yourself anywhere, what I feel. But as you say, it's so real, you have to get over the feeling about it being real.
Yeah. Actually, just going back to something Irina said about time, I remember how pissed off I used to get. You hear a guru say, well, everyone's only got 24 hours in a day. It's about how you use it. You know, oh, shut up. You don't know what I'm dealing with. And then the emotional spiral starts, right? But never a truer word spoken. Why can some people organise their time really well? Because we do all only have 24 hours. But I used to I would get really jealous about that. I'd get really frustrated. I'd have a lot of judgment. Who the friggin' hell are you to tell me, you don't know my life? Then I'd get angry. Then I'd have doubt. Then, I'd get down to worthlessness and the humiliation of it. You've got it all together and I don't. Then apathy because of the guilt. And, it's so easy just to spiral out of control when something like that triggers you.
It's true.
Only take the trigger. But it's, I guess if you look at this, this picture, you can actually see, and being present, I guess, to actually recognise that makes a difference.
Yeah. There's only 24 hours in a day. Everyone's got the same amount of time. Well, okay, mate, I feel like a failure now. I hate you. I feel rejected by the world. I'm so worried because I'm not going to get everything done. Then my negative self-talk spirals. It's that. Yeah, but it feels so real in the moment.
It does.
Shut up, guru on stage. What would you know?
But the other thing about that too, Steve, is, you're looking at that guru and what he's projecting. And you have got no idea what's going on in his thoughts.
Yeah.
His world in some other area could be totally chaotic. And if he looked at you and you think, oh, wow, this guy's got this, he can do this and he can do that and he's a fantastic whatever, and here am I trying to do whatever in that field or whatever, and he's not doing so well. So we have no idea what's going on in other people's mind necessarily.
True, but that's those our mind projections, right, that make up the fantasy that Grace spoke about. Yeah.
Easy to do. Joanne, you haven't said anything yet.
Oh, I'm just listening and I don't know. It's I don't know. I've got so much to say. Where do you start? And,
let it come out.
Let it come out. Let it come out.
Yeah.
Well, one tool that I love, this emotional spiral. I followed Abraham Hicks for a long time, and they have an emotional guidance system as well, very similar to this, which I've always found helpful. And another tool that I've used a lot too, which was from Access Consciousness, a group called Access Consciousness, was you know, when I'm feeling something, a question is, you know, is this mine or somebody else's? Because most things of what we think are someone else's. It originally originated from somebody else, and so it's like, whoa, this is so not my thought. Oh my God, you know. So yeah, lots of these little tools just to sort of bring us back to that space of equilibrium, like you were saying, and looking forward to Warren's talk this afternoon, because I too feel that, you know, there's a lot of darker stuff going on, and that little comment that I put in there, which is actually an idle mind is the devil's playground, and saying that I've known, you know, for a long time, and I find that to be true, because, you know, that idle mind, when I'm not being consciously in touch with source, and, you know, that's not my first sort of, you know, port of call, and, you know, I'm dialoguing or whatever, that's when all that lower stuff comes into it, and then when I kind of go, oh, that's right, everything's energy and nothing is real, that's when I'm able to go straight back up into that, you know, that topper area up there, because one, whose thoughts are these anyway? They're not mine. They're not my truth. Like you were saying, Christine, if it's not my truth state or a real state, then, you know, once you sort of throw all that other stuff in the mix, you can sort of realise the truth of what's going on. But anyway, that'll do. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne, because, you know, again, I can't reiterate, you know, I can't repeat over and over that the first hour in City Awakening is for us to come and collaborate and share what we have, because most of the time we're listening, aren't we? We're listening to so many webinars, so many information, and we're reading, we're all this YouTube, all these social media, we're all passively or taking it all in. And so that's why the first hour, the way that we set up in City Awakening on Sundays, that the first hour is to really get it out in the open. And what's your thoughts? What's your emotions? And what do you think about these things? So really we're collaborating everything in this platform for the first hour, and to bring that energy, whether we agree or disagree with one another, it really doesn't matter. What matters is that we're collaborating in our thoughts, that we will always have, you know, different perception, because obviously we have different filters. So we really want to work, particularly this year, we really want to work for the first hour. Let's hear your voice. Let's hear your thoughts. Because again, we are programmed, aren't we? We're conditioned, we're programmed to listen to the gurus, to all these experts, you know, the big guys. I won't mention any names, but we know, if you think of a big guy big names who's out there in the social media, someone's going to come into your mind, right? And so we're encouraging to really, for us, encouraging everyone to bring in their thoughts. I mean, obviously we are sensitive to one another, and that we can, you know, engage in the conversation, that we allow each other space and time, or hold space when we share. So, yeah, that's what I'd like to say a bit more. So in that comment, anyone else would like to add on to this emotional spiral? What's your thoughts on this? How's your experience?
Grace, can I just say something that's not about the spiral, but about what you just said?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello?
I just wanted to say thanks for giving us the space to speak without being judged, because there's so much judgment in the world at the moment. You know? And if I speak my truth, I'm shot down, especially with family and friends too, quite frankly, people I've been close to. So I really appreciate the forum to that. So thank you. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, Arena. I mean, that's why we're being masked. That's why we are where we are today, aren't we, in society? Because we haven't found our voice. We're put in slavery, we're serfs.
Yeah.
And so really it's the people power that will break this, isn't it? I mean, we're policing each other, which is really sad. The segregation amongst each other is amongst one another, our community with each other. You know, we're basically there's no more trust in each other, is there?
But I've also come to realise too that I've actually not really what's been really interesting with all this process is that I found I haven't really let people know who I really am, but on a deep level, the people who are really close to you know who you are, and you think you are hiding, you know, the things that might make them feel uncomfortable, and you're uncomfortable if you express them, but people actually know because they sense that you're maybe not speaking your full truth, or you're not really being authentic. It's been a real lesson for me, you know, in being authentic and being honest, because I think that's really important, being honest with ourselves about how we're feeling, perhaps coming back to this, but also, you know, that doesn't mean you have to express your anger to everybody in a damaging way, or your frustration. It's at the same time, it's also important not to, you know, be too hard on ourselves when we are angry about something, and maybe angry with how we behaved or reacted, or so I think it's really important to forgive ourselves as well. Anyway,
Exactly. No, exactly. And we don't need anyone to lecture to us. We don't need anyone to tell us what to do. We don't need to tell anyone to, like, you know what, Irina, I've got something really good for you. You need to do this, or have you tried this? You don't need anyone to tell you that. All we need to do, really, for me, I'll go deep inward. I have my answers. I have my solutions within me. Yeah. And it's just a matter of me doing the work, inward work, and not being lazy, going inward. And that's where I get my answer. My answer is always in the internal, not on the external, because on the external, everyone will have their opinion and will have something to say to you, because they've done the modalities. That's what's best for them is that way, which is great. But how are we supposed to be sovereign and being empowered in ourselves? So for me, all my life, all I want to do is just listen to my inner voice. Don't give a stuff about anyone else. But I can see everyone's testimony. Everyone's an example for me. Like, oh, shit, Penny did that. I'm not going to do that. Oh, Penny did it again. No, I'm not going to do that way because she screwed it up. I definitely don't want to screw it up by just watching her. All I need to do is be an observant and watch. And again, whatever modalities I can grab hold. So everyone, if I become an observer and being conscious about what I'm doing, then all my lessons are in there, out there. I like picking on you, Penny.
You have a special affection for me. I'm very honoured.
I love you deeply. You know that.
Warren.
Yes, she's a real good basketball, Penny.
I've noticed with the boredom, though, it's just like I'm looking at it going, boredom. So that's definitely something I need to look more closely at. Because I can feel something biting at the edges. They're going, yes. And I'm like, no. It's going, yeah. Like, okay, all right. But yeah, mostly it's overwhelm and fear. Like, sorry, I forget people's names really easily. Apologies. Yeah, overwhelm and fear is definitely major triggers for the downward spiral. Absolutely. And it gets self-judgment very quickly.
Donna, you haven't been. Hello, Donna. Long time no see.
Oh, hi. How you going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm going good, thanks.
Where are you?
I'm just at home. I'm just getting ready to go for a walk around the river. I've got a rare few hours that I don't have my family here, so that's why I've jumped on today. So, yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
So
good
thanks
to see
for having
you.
me back.
No, always good to see you.
Yeah.
So let's hear your thoughts. Come on.
I've sort of only just tuned in. What my thoughts on which bit specifically, or just anything?
Anything.
Well, I've sort of only just just tuned in, and you were talking about that inward journey, and that absolutely resonates with me. What I've noticed in both myself and in others at the moment is that the world that we sort of, we've used these external markers almost for our stability and our sense of like, okay, well, I know what to expect in that situation, and much of it's unconscious. And for me, this last couple of years, but particularly the last few months, has been a real awareness that old way doesn't work anymore, and it's never going to work again. Like, it's done. And so for me, like not the pain, but the suffering, the suffering that we impose on ourselves comes from sort of trying to look for external markers rather than looking for our internal markers. And for me, it's about relearning how to be in the world where that inner voice becomes the most prominent, and the outer voice is just kind of almost you put them on mute. They're still there, but you're just kind of putting them on mute. So that's that's my sort of take on it. But that's that sounds so simple when we say it, but it's a big process. It's a big process of relearning how to be in the world. That's what I'm discovering anyway.
That's fantastic. I know you deal with a lot of people. So how's it? What's it like for people out there that you're dealing with?
Chaotic to chaotic for a lot of people. I'm finding helping people kind of access that inner world when their outer world has changed so significantly is more challenging than ever. And I'm going through this process myself. We're always discovering new layers. I've just taken the last 2 months off so that I could spend the school holidays with my kids. So I'm back into work as of Monday, and I've just been sitting here rewriting, like, how is what I do going to work, moving forward. It's definitely challenging for people. I'm noticing people sort of, trying to grab hold of the old, and kind of resisting this thing of, you got to find the answers within. And the world is a reflection. That's, probably that is definitely a reflection of, my own inner journey as well. So, yeah.
Major changes, isn't it?
Yeah. And how about for you? How has it been for you with the people that you work with? What have you noticed?
Definitely, it's like a calm before the storm.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is going inward. So the message really this year is going inward, going deeper, going wider. Get yourself grounded. Put your feet down in the earth, so that whatever storm comes our way, whether it's financial, emotional, family, whichever all areas of life, you're grounded deeply into Gaia and to Mother Nature, and that we become like bamboos. So no matter what comes, the tsunami, we're flexible. So it's fluid. Yeah. So the message I'm getting for me is that being fluid this year, being water. And so the emphasis, as I say, I've been swimming in every morning, hitting the beach and just going with the flow. And no matter what the weather is, go with the flow and be water. So that we don't break, that I don't break, because there's so much challenges. I mean, Warren and I had a lot of challenges in the business, in everything that we do. And so the best thing you could do is, for me, is just stay like water. Go around the rocks, go around any obstacles, go around it. And I mean, what does the water do? It doesn't smash it, it just goes around it. And find the least resistance. And also, Christine said this to me one time about, you go down the river, as long as you don't put your feet on the ground, you won't get caught. And you just keep floating. And so to finish off my swimming in the morning, I just float. I look at the elements, I look at the sky, feel the water, listen to the ocean. And again, just floating in all the elements. So with the group that I work with, looking at the elementary alchemy, how to use the fire, water, and all the elements, and what does it mean in everyday life? How does it work for us in our everyday life? How do we shift that? How do we, move on from what we're doing and creating some kind of manifestation in our minds and really moving into that avenue?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's lovely. And as you're speaking, what sort of came to the forefront is also reminding ourselves that this, when things are in chaos, and this is something that I personally have been just resetting, continuously, just reminding myself that when things are in chaos, that's our greatest opportunity to manifest. But when it's in chaos, God, it's sometimes so challenging to like actually put that into practice. But I on a daily basis keep reminding myself that this is an amazing opportunity. If you can for me to reframe it, that's personally, I think, what's getting me through as well, is just if you're clear on what you want, this is your chance to manifest things at, the click of a finger. And mind you, I sort of am doing this with smaller things at the moment, and I don't know if other people have noticed this, but when things come to mind, I'm noticing that they are appearing in the actual physical world quite quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, like, even just a friend pops into your mind that you haven't seen for 10 years, and the next thing you bump into them in the shops, and just little things like that I'm noticing are happening very quickly. So I jumped on today's call because I saw as well that Warren was going to be talking about, like, the shadow side, and shadow work I've been finding really valuable in my personal journey as well with this as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, the lessons are coming quicker. Things are coming quicker, and the quicker we respond rather than react, and bring ourselves into symmetry, the better for us. And we move on to the next one, isn't it?
Yeah. The alchemy of making the fixed unfixed and the unfixed fixed. It's actually quite easy to do right now. In comparison to years gone by, it is actually, because the thing is, the world is so chaotic that to get something really firm in your mind, I'm finding is it is easier than it has been before, but it is also more challenging not to get distracted with all the chaos. So there's the balance.
That's it, isn't it? The distraction. Everything's there to distract.
Yeah.
But again, the distraction, I love Steve's rule number 6.
February 30, Grace. February 30. It's all finishing, right? February 30.
You actually called me.
What's rule 6?
Steve explains it really well. Rule number 6. You're gonna have a sense of humor, Donna.
Yeah.
Don't take things seriously. Laugh seriously.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It was interesting what Donna said there too about our attachments, right? If we are attached to the way things were, we're going to be in an awful lot of pain, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. That's our rigidity of thinking or being attached to a certain way. That is a spiral down really quickly. You descend really quickly, and Donna mentioned shadows as well. I mean, this is bringing up all of those attachments I'll just speak personally in my shadow, my attachment to security, my attachment to certainty, my attachment to things that I've thought my whole life. All of those things are coming up. Even simple things like the government's here to help the citizens and things like that had been a bedrock, to little things about, I really am attached to the income that I have, and I'm attached to, things in my environment. And so all of these things as Donna said, are coming up to challenge us all the time. And that's why, it's easy to spiral downward really quickly. When those things are challenged, and we don't want to look at them.
No, we don't. As DeMartini would say, Donna, isn't it? The masses live in pain and pleasure, or gains and loss.
That's the illusion of the masses is that you can have health without illness, pleasure without pain,
Peace
heaven
without
without
war.
hell.
Yeah.
We're seeing that play out, aren't we?
Yeah, we certainly are. It's I mean, for me, it's like, oh, let's go out and play and see what happens.
Yeah.
So, Christine and I, we're having fun. It's like, oh, where can we go? Because there's a mask mandate here in Albany as well. It's like, where can we go to, and play and see what happens and what kind of reactions we get. And it's actually quite fun.
That does sound good.
Yeah. So it's good. We walked in to a cafe the other day, and everyone's wearing a mask. We just walk in, and it's a restaurant cafe that we go all the time, and we just walked in, ordered our stuff, no mask, nothing, and everyone else is wearing it, and we just went and sat down, and no problem, no issue.
Yeah. I must admit, so far, I mean, I haven't worn a mask, and I only up until just recently have I had people ask, and I've just said, oh, I'm exempt. And I was speaking to my sister yesterday because she's like, oh, I get really nervous and I get really scared if I'm not on my, when I'm feeling strong in myself, I'm able to walk into a cafe without a mask on and I'm good. But she said, then when I have these moments where I'm just feeling so battered and bruised with what's going on in the world, and we kind of had a chat to her, and I said, we sort of just had a bit of a discussion about it, about how like feeling strong in yourself is just a belief system about the conditions that need to be present for you to be sovereign, and it's actually not true. You can be walking into a place and feeling weak, and I sort of reminded her that if you go in without a mask on and you burst into tears, that's actually okay and that's appropriate. Like if they challenge you, like that's okay. It doesn't mean that you've failed. You then have the choice to put it on or walk out or do whatever you feel is appropriate, but don't feel like you have to be on your A game in order to like fight the world. Like you can go in feeling broken and that's okay. But do what you do, and wait and see. Don't kind of give yourself these rigid beliefs about how things need to be in order for you to be who you are.
Just a matter of choosing, pick your battle, isn't it? Pick the battle which you can overcome, and it won't spiral you down to death. The sad thing too is that I find I actually have no issue wearing a mask. I just wear my pretty bandana mask, and it's got flowers on it and stuff. Occasionally I would wear it. It doesn't matter. When I was in Perth, it didn't bother me. But I do get judged as well for those who are consciously awake as well. It's like, why would you wear a mask, Grace? I'm like, well, it doesn't bother me wearing a mask. At least I don't have to put lipstick on, and that kind of thing. So it's like, no, I have no issue. I can be either one or the other. It doesn't matter. I can, if I feel like, okay, I'm going to play and see how they're going to bang and clang around me. And I have no issue doing that and just watching their reaction. Or this is, like you say, Donna, sometimes you're feeling weak and you can't be bothered. So you just put in my case, I put my bandana on. Not that silly mask, it doesn't work anyway. But, so I just put the bandana on, no issue. But the thing is, I cop it on the other end too with the conscious people. Like, well, you've got no strong conviction. And so it's like, well, it doesn't really matter, does it? So that's the other side.
Yeah, I haven't worn one, and I must admit, you know, that's part of me embracing my shadow side of like I've on purpose not done it, because I thought if I'm challenged and I am brought to tears and I do go into that place, that's actually me stepping into my shadow. You know, that thing of not wanting to appear weak is huge, is a huge shadow side for me. So I've kind of used it for that purpose within myself, that if I am brought to tears, that's actually me stepping into like embracing that side of me. But yeah, I mean, yeah, there's no right or wrong. There's no judgment. It was just an observation with my sister that she had this belief system that the conditions needed to be a certain way in order for her to get what she wanted.
Well, it's speaking about shadows. I actually really enjoyed it last Friday. I work with a small group of people on Fridays, and for the last 3 years, I've been poking them, making them cry, getting them pissed off, angry, and all that. And so I literally put myself in the hot seat, and I say, "Okay, guys, you can poke me, you can do whatever you like. I'll be open, and see what you come out with me." And so I actually literally put myself in that hot seat, and it felt really, really good.
It was the best Friday ever.
You didn't come out with questions though, Steve. You didn't hammer me.
It's good watching you squirm though.
Pardon?
It was good watching you squirm. The table's being turned, right? Come on, Christine, you enjoyed it too. Don't lie.
It's actually really, really interesting, because I identified so much with quite a lot of Grace's stuff that I had tears as well. So it's amazing what comes up for you, really. Somebody else is facing their shadows, and then you think about it and you think, shit, that's my shadow as well. So often, you know, you speak it out sometimes and other people speak it out. You think, oh, that's me. And so it does actually help other people when you speak out your shadows, because it makes you realise you've got those shadows. Well, for me, I've got those shadows as well. That's where I am, and I have been, and all that sort of stuff. So it brings it out into the open, which is really quite remarkable.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's times that I don't want to look at my shadows. I certainly don't, and I hate it. But once I overcome it, it's like hitting the water. It's freezing, it's cold, but once you get in, it's good. You embrace it, and you know, it's really. I really enjoyed it, guys, on Friday. I really do. Except you guys were a bit weak. You didn't challenge me enough. They were running around. They were really being pussy, Donna.
No, you got poked a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, you got poked a little bit.
I justified myself. I made excuses.
Do you find, Grace, that, and everybody else, that it's not just the physical people, your friends or people that you don't know, strangers, who actually will bring your shadows to the surface? In that, this morning I, just doing this stuff around the house and the property, and I went out to my favourite tree and gave it a huge hug and said, "How are you today, Mike? You know, are you having a great time?" And Mike sent this beautiful love through me that just brought me to tears. And I thought, oh my God, why am I crying? And then I realised that I was actually communicating spiritually, energetically with Gaia. And afterwards I came inside, and I'd been getting these 2 words quite regularly lately, saying, "Be prepared." And I thought, oh, yeah, sure, you know, be prepared. Okay, you know, be prepared for lack of water, lack of electricity, lack of fire, lack of whatever. And then this morning they just kept saying to me, be prepared, be prepared. And I'm saying, what are you guys on about? How I don't even know what I'm being prepared for. What is it? If you don't tell me, how am I going to know what I'm being prepared for? What is it? And they said, oh, when the time comes, you will know. And I thought, oh, that's a great answer, you know. And of course, then I had to go a little bit more deeply into what exactly or how I would be prepared for something that I have no idea about. And then it hit me that I think at the moment we are being prepared for what is about to come. And it's on this planet at the moment, we all know there's absolute chaos. However, I think that absolute chaos is going to become so big that we as individuals, as human beings, think, oh my God, you know, I thought I knew everything. I thought I was prepared. And suddenly I'm faced with something that, wow, what is it? How am I going to handle this? And then I started to go into the, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, you know, slide down the spiral. Here we go. Where am I? Oh my God, am I going to be afraid? What is it? And then a little voice said to me, well, do you remember back to the time when you were in the earthquake in New Zealand? And I went, oh, yes. And just as a quick thing, the earthquake, the major one, happened at 4:37 a.m. I was 120 kilometres away from the centre of it. I was shaken out of bed in the dark. I had no idea what was going on. And all my subconscious told me, my innate said, go and stand in the doorway. So I raced over, stood in the doorway, and the house was shaking and jumping around me. And after things quietened down a little, you suddenly think, oh my God, what about all my friends? Where's my family? What's happening to everybody? And the chaos just got, in my mind, just went totally overboard. And I thought, what do I do? What do I do? And slowly I came to the realization that I could actually communicate by going onto the net and finding, because a lot of the telephones, mobile phones, everything all dropped out. There was nothing there. You know, you were just in complete darkness, and I was in darkness. And so I got on the computer and I started, for me, I mean, I really had no idea what I was doing, but I thought, right, the first thing I need to do is go somewhere where I know everybody else will be if they're there, because we can't communicate by telephone. And of course, Facebook, lo and behold, in that day was good. And what I did, I became a communication channel for those people in other parts of the world with people who were in New Zealand going through the chaos. And just by being that little calm person passing on messages allowed me just to be the grounded person where everybody could come to, well, everybody, a lot of people that I knew could come to, so that the rest of the world who needed to know could find out what was going on. And so I think that when we come into this, whatever it is that we're coming into, we don't know what it is. We're in the dark. And it could be at any stage. I mean, it could be midnight, it could be midday. But we will be in the dark and not know what to do. However, that innate that we have within us will allow us to know what to do. So on this emotional spiral thing, don't be afraid. The fear is the worst thing that will create your spiral to fall so quickly. Just go within. And people say, what do you mean go within? You know, what are you talking about? Because everybody's so used to being told what to do and watching movies and videos and listening to the news and on and on. But go within and see what makes you feel good, or what makes you feel better, or what in your previous life, I mean, we've all got skills that we don't know we've got, but in a dangerous situation, whether it's mental or physical or spiritual, we will actually know what to do. And if we don't know what to do, call on that higher creative source, that power, that light within us that knows everything. Ask what we need to do, because that is where our knowings will come from, and that is how we will actually get through this situation. In being prepared, yes, okay, I have no idea how to be prepared, but I know that within me I have this light that will shine brightly and allow me to assist others as well as myself through what we are about to experience. So call on your higher creative self to tell you, to allow you to know what you need to do.
Thank you, Suzanne. Warren's about to come on, so what we're going to do is do the heart and math coherence like we normally do before the message we start with the message. So thank you so much, everyone, for participating. I really appreciate it.
All right, so we'll do the heart-brain coherence. So I'll take you through the 3 steps. Just ask that everyone mutes themselves so we're not interrupted. And we'll just find our centre, have our heart and our brain coherent for the start of Warren's message. So the 3 steps. The first one is to shift our awareness. So the reason that we do that is our busy thinking mind is always pinging off at 1,000 miles an hour. So I invite you to close your eyes and to shift your awareness from your thinking mind to your feeling heart. So we do that by gently touching your heart space, your heart center, either with an open palm like I'm doing, with a finger or a couple of fingers, whatever way is comfortable for you. Just to touch your heart space gently with your eyes closed with an open palm, or whatever way is comfortable. And the reason that we do this is that our awareness always goes to the place on our body where we feel the touch. It draws our awareness from the busyness of our mind to our heart. It sends a signal to our entire being that I'm turning my attention inward. So that's step number 1, to shift our awareness by touching our heart space. And step number 2 is to slow your breathing. So I invite you to breathe in through the nose for a count of 5. We'll hold for 5 and then out through the mouth. We'll do that 3 times. So in through the nose for 5. Hold for 5. And then out through the mouth for 5. In through the nose for 5. Hold for 5. Out through the mouth for 5. And again, in through the nose for 5. Hold. Then release for 5. And when we do this, it tells our body that we are in a safe space, because the only time that we ever breathe like this is when we feel safe. And so it's a signal for our body to let go of the stress hormones, the feelings of stress that come so naturally during these times. It awakens the healing chemistry, because our bodies really can only do one thing or the other. They can stress, or our bodies can stress, or it can heal. And so it gives the body permission to awaken that healing chemistry. So once again, breathe in through the nose for a count of 5. Hold for 5. Then exhale for 5. And again, one more time, breathe in for a count of 5 from your heart space, from that place you feel the touch. Hold. And then release for 5. And that's step number 2, to slow our breathing. So we've shifted our awareness, we've slowed our breathing, and step number 3 is to create a feeling, and we're the only species on the planet that can do this. So I invite you to create a feeling in your heart space, from that place you feel the touch, the place you were just breathing from, to the best of your ability, to feel one or a combination of care for anyone or anything, appreciation for anyone or anything, gratitude or compassion. These 4 words that the researchers at the HeartMath Institute found that they trigger that connection between our heart and our brain. So to the best of your ability, to feel the feeling of one or a combination of care, appreciation, gratitude or compassion from that place you feel the touch. And just to sit for a couple of minutes with that feeling, care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. I invite you to take one more slow, deep breath in for a count of 5. Hold for 5. And release for 5. And that's our heart-brain coherence. And Warren, we're ready for you, Grace, unless you wanted to say something to introduce Warren in today's topic.
Thanks, Steve. Holy Warren, you're on camera.
I think I am.
What happened to your hair?
I went to the beach.
All right.
Yes, I know I look like an Italian kind of, Rocky Stallion or something.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but yeah.
You're just going to say I look pretty hot, but you thought people would like you. But
yeah.
I do understand that, Steve.
I wore a mask and shut up Warren instead. So yeah.
I don't get why you're not wearing a mask right now on here. I don't feel safe, Steve. I mean, goodness sake, mate.
I'm just waiting for Dr. Bill to save me.
Don't you trust the Chief Health Officer?
No, just Dr. Bill. He's the only one I trust.
Fair enough. No, I'm glad to hear you trust the.
There you go, Warren. I have no issue wearing a mask.
Well, when I'm with my favourite hooker, I have no issue wearing a mask either. It's just not the same type you're thinking of, that's all.
So there
As you
go.
know, never go too far below the belt because I can always go lower.
And
yeah,
you do. Yeah.
You do.
It's all yours, Warren.
Brilliant. Steve, well, seeing as you've a lot to say for yourself, do you want to start with the Lord's Prayer?
Sure.
Great. I'll just get it up. Okay, here we go. Okay.
Alrighty. Okay, the prayer to our Father. O thou from whom the breath of life comes, who fills all realms of sound, light, and vibration. May your light be experienced in my utmost holiest. Your heavenly domain approaches. Let your will come true in the universe, all that vibrates, just as on earth, that is material and dense. Give us wisdom, understanding, assistance for our daily need. Detach the fetters of faults that bind us, our karma, like we let go the guilt of others. Let us not be lost in superficial things, materialism, common temptations, but let us be freed from that what keeps us off from our true purpose. From you comes the all-working will, the lively strength to act, the song that beautifies all and renews itself from age to age. Amen. Sealed in trust, faith, and truth, I confirm with my entire being.
Amen. Thank you, Steve. Okay, so welcome everyone. And yeah, it's interesting to see people here, and it's great to see people here wanting to hear this topic. And that's always a great start, you know, when you've got people who are keen to be stretched, to be expanded, and things like that. Because there's no doubt we're in a massive war on consciousness. And, you know, for the sake of transparency, I literally got my rosters confused. I can remember last night saying to Grace, so is it Steve speaking or someone else? And I was told you are. I said, what? Me? I thought I was next week. I'm like, no. Grace goes, well, you can always pull one out of your ass. And I just smiled and said, well, and as I tuned in, I straight away knew what to speak on, because I've been speaking on this war of consciousness in our mystery schools and some of our higher teachings, the stuff which I've been teaching people privately for years. But again, this is just a day of straight openness. I just had this kind of, in the past, when I tried to share this with people, I found people were either too stupid to understand it, or they weren't open enough to basically, you know, to basically learn something different. Whereas I feel now that's changing, because when you've got horrific stuff going on like this, and I had a sense that, you know what, I think people are ready to listen to just about anything right now, because it's not hard to see, if you have any semblance of being awake, that we have a fairly major problem. You know, whether or not you've gone and got experimented on down the jab station and been a good sheep, or whether you've chosen to not do that, I'm noticing that universally there is a recognition of a fairly major problem that is going on right now. And I'm sure that all would be in agreement with me on that. So I really felt today it's time to start fighting back a little bit. And when I say fighting back, not by running up and screaming and burning pictures of Mark McGowan and Daniel Andrews, because you've missed the absolute point if you do that, or Joe Biden, you've missed the point. And as someone who spent his whole life since the age of 18 literally studying shamanic school, the principles of the shamanic arts, understanding how the dark arts works and things like that, I just decided it's really time to kind of start to teach. And those who have an ear to hear, today will hear what I've got to say. And those who do, I am very confident your life will go out and go to a different level, and you'll start to find new ways to deal with what's going on. And if you don't, well, you just got to go back into the matrix for a while and try your luck and see how you go. I know there's a sense of arrogance in that statement, but I say it unashamedly, because it's a little bit like when you absolutely know something is true. And so today, it's kind of like owning who I am on a deeper level, to really help people and fight for our country and fight for our state. And just something's happened to me. You know, everyone, I've just, over the last few days, I thought, you know what, we're not just going to let communism take over our country, not without a fairly decent, you know, pushback of some kind. And when my partner died 3 months ago, like Sammy, in that, as you know, that month that I kind of would be most grateful if I never had to encounter anything like that again. The one thing I know is I had no regrets. I left everything on the court with her, you know, like those last 5 weeks when she was sick, I was trying to run a business and I was also caring for her. I was working with her and fighting for her to kind of get her through. And in the end, I lost that battle, you know, but I know that some battles you win, some you lose. And that one I lost. But in saying that, there was a higher path, a higher purpose in that situation. And I was able to learn my lessons and integrate them and go to my next stage. And that's really how I'm feeling with this right now. It's facing the fear of death and the fear of our greatest fears, and say it's time to just put a stop to this, or at least know we've done everything we can. And somehow, as I found with the situation with Sammy, when you do everything you can, you walk away with the greatest gift, and that's with no regret. You don't walk away feeling ashamed of yourself. You walk away knowing that you've lived your truth and knowing you left everything on the court, as Michael Jordan said. So let's just start with balancing ourselves. I really feel today, seeing I'm covering some fairly deep stuff, and there's no doubt in my mind that, you know, we've got to be in a good, clear state to hear and not be interfered with by dark arts, as you'll be learning more today. So just to breathe and just to really sense and to really feel, to tune in. And I'm doing what Raymond Grace taught me when I went to his workshops and did a lot of shamanic training with Raymond. Raymond said that if you believe you can do it, he said you usually can. That's his first rule. His second rule was everything is energy, and any energy can be transformed. I kind of got a bit slack on that. And this morning I was going to the markets, and lately, those who live in West Australia know when you go up there, it's like walking into a war zone. You know, everyone masked up, and I thought, nah, I'm not putting up with that today. I'm going to the markets. I balanced the energy before I left, cleared out the dark spirits, dispossessed anything down the farmers markets, went down there. Virtually not a single person was wearing a mask, had the smoothest thing. Everyone chatted as normal, and I went back home and got on with life. And I thought, let's just balance ourselves, balance our polarity, align with universal energy field, balance emotions, hormones, and magnetism. Because everything that we're seeing is just a perception of our reality. Very intense this week, I agree. So this is why being balanced and having that balance of going out to war, but then going back at nightfall and resting and just really balancing and grounding yourself. And that's the one thing I've had to be a little bit more mindful of lately. I've got some lovely Mahakala incense burning, which is all about death and rebirth right now. And there's a lot of balancing taking place. So this is taking a bit longer than normal, but it's starting to settle now. So let's go to the next one. So just breathing in for 4 through the nose, hold for 3, and out of the mouth for 6. Should notice by now, you're just starting to slow down just nicely. Let's just project a golden vortex spinning clockwise all around yourself and around the group. This is activating Dr. Adrian Clarke's teachings along with what I learned with a couple of other shamans and shamanic schools, activating the energies of the earth. As David Wilcock shows in the synchronicity key, by mental projection is just as effective as a literal vortex spinning. That's why you get hurricanes and tornadoes in places like Philippines to balance the energy. So we're doing that right now in Australia and in US and wherever you happen to be and around this group. And now we just project a white crystalline pyramid over us whole group and over ourselves. And get a clear sense. And you don't need to be straining your mind, you just got to know it's there and that you're in it. And if you don't see the pyramid in your imagination, that's okay. Most people don't. Most people's imaginations are something they have to develop. So it's okay. Be kind to yourself. So we just give thanks to Archangel Uriel in the north, Archangel Michael and the swords of light and of war in the south, Archangel Raphael and the healing powers and herbs in the east, and Gabriel the evangelist and messenger in the west, and also Archangel Metatron and the Order of Enoch for being present here today. And we humble and we acknowledge and honor your presence, and thank you for serving us today and serving our states and our people and being there to assist us in this work. And we thank you for Mother Mary to bring her feminine presence and glory and divine sweet essence and the Holy Spirit and Shakti and Christ. And we thank you also for the Shakti Nagas, Durga, Kali, Gayatri, just for being here today. Just to balance and sweeten the energies of everyone and everything here. I'm just going to sense and feel them because they're really present right now. And some of you, no doubt, are really feeling especially the strong presence of Mother Mary and the sweet feminine, just to balance and acknowledge their support to the masculine in doing the work of spiritual warfare and cleansing. That's the message I'm getting right now, especially from the divine feminine Nagas and from Mother Mary. It's just especially wanting the masculine to know they're supported by the feminine, to step up and do the work of the warfare. And we just command that only those aligned with the Word of God and Christ consciousness to be may be present, and that all false spirit guides that are not aligned with the order of Melchizedek, the order of Enoch, and the office and the blood of Christ is to leave now. We also command that the blood of Christ releases all negative karma where it can be done and binds up sorcerers, human spirits, warlocks, or any kind of false spirit guides in any way here working in the dark arts to leave now. And I just felt a huge expulsion, and I'm sure you felt that, William. I just noticed you're here. Huge expulsion. William's my brother, he may be my son, but he's my brother in the dark arts. In combating that, we do a lot of stuff together. And before we start, just comment what you feel or what you noticed as that happened. Before we start, and I share just something which I feel to read to everyone before we begin. Just share in the chat what you felt, what you experienced. If anyone noticed the specific shifts, I noticed already, but Sharon wrote she felt the divine within her and around me blissfully light. Anyone else? Monica, calmness and peace. Irina, tears, calling on the angels and Mary, and felt the evil go. Amen. Max, the lightness and sweetening, really good. Oh, good to see you, Max. We've really got the warriors turn up today. This is cool. Gail, negative feeling lifted. Serena felt shivers released, calmness. We've got some good warriors here today. I feel we've got some good people here who are really ready for this. Penny, the space opened up, Dark Master sent packing. 36 is also a pivotal number in the Chinese medicine too. Miko, felt the air clear? Yeah, me too. I felt it. Sheldon, felt my mind. Yeah, there was a lot of mental assaults that have been going on, and you'll hear what I mean today. What I'm about to share with you is going to probably blow some of your minds. You will realize how much your minds are being manipulated right now, and you're going to have to, from this day on, take active steps to stop this. You're going to hear something. Melanie and Ryan feeling much lighter. That's awesome. Judith felt the feminine energy and after when you expel the dark forces. Nadine looking forward to getting rid of dark forces. Had a strange, evil, supernatural experience in my sleep last night. Doesn't surprise me. Yep, there's a bit going on. Suzanne, after my talking to you this morning, my spirit back up from the energies is wonderful. Yeah, I remember, Nadine, when I first started really going deeper into this, I was having things happen to me at night like that, and visiting me in the night and waking up and there were things holding my foot and everything. It was really interesting. Irina, I've been feeling the manipulation all week. Sheldon waking up at 3 a.m. too. I did last night. There was all sorts of stuff going on last night in terms of spiritual attacks upon the people. I can tell you that now. So this is going to be really cool. So I'm going to read to you from an extract of something that was given to me this week on the shaman's death and rebirth. It's very powerful extracts and really what it means to surrender to death and rebirth. So this was a card that came out for me when I was with my shaman and healer I'm working with to just balance out some energies I felt was slightly out. I felt there'd been some kind of major shift going on in me that was having difficulty integrating. So this was what she got for me, this card 41. So I'm going to get this up. I'm going to read this out to you, or extracts from it. So, shaman's death and rebirth. So the first thing is, grandfather, I do ask for death for the parts of me that will not hear or speak the truth, which are too blind to see. Grandmother, give me birth again with love as my guide, truth and beauty as my path, with absolutely nothing left to hide. So that's the first part. Now there's about a few pages, quite a long one, but I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just going to read some extracts for you today. So the teachings of shaman's death have many varied forms in the ceremonies of Native America. The idea of death as experiencing new life is a common belief. All life is seen as movement on the medicine wheel. Nothing ever ends without a new beginning. The wheel of life contains many spokes that mark the life lessons and steps that every living creature will have to experience on the trail of physical life. Native Americans have been taught that to judge the steps of another person that ever must take in order to grow is foolish and unproductive. Another person must grow and may be seen as foolish and unproductive. So never to do that. As the wheel of life turns around, all humans reach the place where they have to learn similar lessons. And this is where the shaman's death comes into play. If the lesson of each spoke on the medicine wheel is learnt, the medicine wheel is an ancient tool used by the shamans and used by the healers in the Amazon for basically to help people shift, and I've done the medicine wheel before. The lesson of the next spoke is made available. The shadow side of each one of us inhibits our growth and is constantly forced to die. And these deaths occur daily, whether they be fears, doubts, bad habits, negative thoughts, or self-importance or severe ego issues. These deaths mark spiritual progress and speaks of the ability to walk in beauty. Every death of a part of the shadow announces the birth of a new talent or gift, and every victory over a part of self not walking in beauty is a rebirth in itself. The change in attitude at the crossroads marks the death of the old and the birth of the new. Just as a quick aside or interjection on that one, my father even, I remember him telling me what happened to him. When he went through a nervous breakdown when he was 30, he said for 3 years he got psychotherapy from a top shaman. And he said he woke up and one night he had a dream and he saw himself as a skinny man standing there, and he saw himself literally hit and killed. And then he heard a voice say out loudly, "The old David Black has died, the new one is reborn." The next day he went to a psychotherapist. The psychotherapist said, "I don't need to see you anymore. You finished with me." And he said, "No, I do." He goes, "No, you don't." He goes, "You're reborn." And my dad said he was never the same man after that. So a shaman is a person who's willing to confront the greatest fears and shadows of physical life. Now, here I would really encourage everyone to listen to what I'm about to say now. This is very important. He says, when I was working with the Mexican shamans, I was taught the difference between a healer and shaman, or in Western language to help you better understand this, of the love and light healers and a true shaman, okay? Because we see plenty of love and light healers. A love and light or a healer is a person who can use the forces of good medicine to effect a cure in the body, mind, or spirit of another. So they're very important. Still, the healer does not use the forces of the shadow to effect cures. The shaman, by contrast, is a healer who's gone into the underworld, into the darkness, and has unflinchingly confronted his own shadow, as well as the evil of others, and can successfully deal with those forces of darkness used as equally with the light. A good example was, I don't know of you who saw The Lord of the Rings with Gandalf, but if you've seen that one, the first and second movie, you may remember Gandalf was taken out by a demon in the first movie, but reappears in the second movie, having gone and fallen into abyss of darkness and lying there an absolute mess. I mean, who saw that? Absolute mess. But he conquered the demon, and he sent him, and he slayed his ruins upon the mountains. That's what he said. And he came back reborn. In the previous first one, he was unable to defeat Saruman when Saruman put the dark arts upon him. So in the first movie, Gandalf was a healer, a great wizard. But the second movie, he was a reborn shaman. And this time, when he came and confronted Saruman in the King of Rohan, he cast the demon out of him. And I know this from first-hand experience, because the first time I took this on, I was a healer. And I lost badly, lost my finances, lost my health, lost my marriage, lost everything. Second time round, after being wrecked, ruined, having lost everything, I was able to come back, yes, from Gandalf the Grey as Gandalf the White. And the same demons that defeated me in the first onslaught, I was able to basically comfortably defeat. And that's why I can do this work now, what I'm doing, because I had to go into the underworld, face all my deepest fears, my deepest own shadows, and hit the darkness and lose quite severely, but then come back from that. So just continuing on with the reading, a shaman can do exorcisms and can reverse hexes and the result of black arts used on a patient. The shaman, as well as the healer, can effect cures, but only the shaman is trained in dealing with the black arts that may have caused illness. And I know this, like even there's been times where I could not deal with a particular thing, and this happened this week with me. I've had an issue with my left thumb for about 8 months I could not fix. And I was going to chiropractors, I was going to everyone. And finally, that's why I went to the shaman for that and others. And she tested, and yeah, there was some black arts that had been put upon me of vengefulness. As soon as she cleared the black arts, within 2 days, my thumb is almost back to normal. Now it's just having to rebuild strength. So the dark arts is not something that can be fixed by a healer, only by a shaman. Many people in today's society call themselves shaman with no knowledge of what this exactly means. If the shaman does not know how to look at his shadow self and face it head on, that person is never meant to follow the path of the shaman. And that's okay, because few can really walk that path, okay? And it doesn't mean you have to. It just means you have to honor the shaman, know when you're with them, and be willing to see them when you have to get healed, because certain things will never get addressed. This person could never confront or handle the results of the black shamans. The people of Mexico and Central and South America are very aware of the black arts and the use of good and bad medicine. Many shamans have died trying to protect others because they invoke the wrath of those using the dark arts. This happened to me with legal practice. I remember I had the legal practice brought after me, and nothing I could do would stop it. And when I was working with a very, very good shaman, we found out that there were shamans working in the dark arts, 29 of them, working at a high level in our society, who were attacking me because they were furious, because I was doing a lot of freedom fighting work. I was going out doing court cases, and I was waking people up. And I lost that battle quite badly. And I actually gave up my shamanic work because of it. And that's when I was called back 4 years ago. And this time now was able to get back into it and know how to defeat and combat what's going on. Even now, I still know, but I need help with that one. And that's why I regularly get William, Grace, and others. And that's why Grace's energy work is valuable, because you know, as soon as you're doing this kind of work, the dark arts is trying to take you down. You just have to ask Donald Trump. Though this type of bad medicine among shamans is not as prevalent north of the Mexican border, it does exist. True medicine people don't have to brag or announce they're shamans or medicine people at all. They work quietly with humility, and they know their worth in the eyes of the great mystery. The opinions of others do not change the center shelf held by a true healer or shaman. The shaman has walked up to the gates of his own personal hell or Hades and walked in it. The self-created demons of fear, insanity, loneliness, self-important addictions have been confronted and conquered by the shaman who've gone through the shaman's depths. The quality that shines in a true shaman is compassion for the paths of others that walk. This is because the shaman has walked through the underworld of shadow and knows the pain involved in breaking the stranglehold of the inner darkness and insanity which rocks people's minds. And as another comment on that one, Alberto Villoldo, he talks about when he was first learning shamanic work and he had a little bit of an ego, he said to his mentor, he said, the dark arts could never touch me because I walk in the light. And the guy burst out laughing and said, is that so? And he said, I'll make you a bet. He said, my bet is that if the dark arts goes after you, and I've got a friend who can do that, who I know, he said, but you will lose badly. And he said, absolutely, I'll take you on. And within a day or a few days, the guy actually collapsed and he couldn't get out of bed for 24 hours. And he thought he was going to die. And then, of course, his shaman friend came in laughing, says, do you still believe it? Or do you want me to help clear this curse? And he said, please do. So he learned a big lesson from that. So I remember teaching on this years ago, and a prophet called walked in, a guy called Chris, and he actually told me he went into Africa, into a village, and he actually got knocked out for 3 days and couldn't leave his bed until a medicine doctor came in and cleared the effects of the dark arts. And I see this in Australia and America right now, and it's happening, and we're a very ignorant culture of this. And I'm kind of taking a big risk doing this today because I know that this is kind of going up and announcing and declaring war. Basically, that's what's kind of happening. So all I know is that I'm very grateful that we have a good team, a good people, but it's really time that if we don't push back energetically with this kind of stuff, the energy, the mental pressure will overwhelm and people will just cave in. So that's how I see this. And so basically understanding it, and don't have to live in fear. It's what I call respect. It's like I respect, for example, Mike Tyson. I don't live in fear of him, but if I heard Mike Tyson was mad and wanted to beat me up, I would certainly have some respect for that one. And I wouldn't walk around and pick a fight with him. I wouldn't walk around pretending he could never beat me. I would be like, yeah, I know you can kick my head in. So let's just kind of ease this. So it's more just learning to respect the fact that, as I said to someone, if the dark arts had no power in this country, we've had enough love and light rituals at Uluru and meditations across this country and across America to heal this place. And it's got worse. I think everyone here who's got any semblance of a brain cell still working and who's not in denial would agree that things have got worse than better over the last couple of years. Now, obviously, there's a parallel duality and there's a other side to this, and there's the awakening that's happening in many, and there's a fact that there's 37 people here listening to this now, whereas 2 years ago, I'd have been lucky to get 7 or 8, so there's no doubt there's the other side to this, but it's just important to face the truth if we're going to see a shift and regain our minds and our complete clarity and gain the victory over our minds and in our society around us. So continuing on with the reading, it goes on to say that one such death be rituals night of fear. And I won't read all of these out, but they give a couple of examples of where they train shamans. One that involves putting them in a grave at night where they're covered by a blanket and they can't leave the grave all night. And that brings up every fear as they hear the animals and everything like that. In another ritual, somebody actually goes and gets buried and all the villagers come and piss over them and insult it. And that's teaching them to stay neutral and balanced no matter what happens. So the value of these shamans' deaths, so I've just skipped the whole other part there. And I'm coming to the last part. This is important to listen to, and I want everyone to really listen to this one here. The value of this type of shaman's deaths is when a person succeeds in defeating the fire of insanity, the mind is strong, and listen to this, cannot be thought adjusted or telepathically manipulated by dark sorcery. Thought adjusting is a telepathic invasion into the minds of the unaware. It's an ancient technique that involves the use of adjusting the attitudes or ideas of others for means of controlling their reason. Many black art shamans seek to drive white shamans to insanity through invading their dreamscapes, so there you go, Nadine, or using fear tactics to make people go crazy by attacking their thoughts at night. And just an aside, I can tell you now, the very best shamans will actually go in and put energetic injections into people between 3 to 4 in the morning. So no doubt with people against the vaccine, they go in and energetically vaccinate them so they give into it. That kind of stuff is what they do. In this way, those who oppose the misuse of shamanism are removed from society and put out of the game. It's imperative for people studying to be shamans to study with a trained, true, and tried medicine person. To unwittingly delve into it without guidance, especially in those countries regularly practice the dark arts, is actually life-threatening. So it's very important to know this. I actually, when I've done webinars like this, what's always interesting is I have people come to me and go, I can't believe I'm listening to this. They said, this is so cool. I said, why? They're saying, we used to be dark art Satanists. We did all that. And that's why we just laugh when we go to churches and go to love and light healings. We think these guys are idiots. They said, we know how to fuck these guys over whenever we want to. And and this is what one guy said to me, who's very advanced. Another guy told me, he said, oh, I used to go into seminars if people pissed me off. I would use a telepathic technique where I'd imagine a drill going into their head and give them a migraine, and I'd knock them out. And I said, really? He goes, yeah, I would do that. So dark arts is very effective, very, very effective. Shamanism is the ability to commune with all spirits dwelling on all levels of creation. When a person has this ability from an early age, it can be severely misunderstood. So has anyone here ever had a major trauma happen in your life between ages 1 and 7? Is there anyone here who had a really major, not just like, oh, you know, but like something really bad happened? Like I had a couple when I was that age, like around 3 and then 6. Because if you did, so my guess is a few would have had it here, because what they explain in this shamanic ritual, which I'm reading to you all, it says, this sense of self and one sacred space is torn in pieces, and the embryonic ego matrix destroys the boundaries of the child, and the communication between the self and the spirit realm and other voices begins to open. The difficulty is for a small child, they can't discern which voices are helpful and which are harmful, and therefore they're often manipulated by harmful earthbound spirits, discarnates, or demons. In severe cases where the child is constantly abused by adults around them, the child may develop schizophrenia or split personality syndrome. In modern cultures, the treatment of these symptoms is tragic. In Mexican tribal cultures, the child is taught how to eliminate the bad influences to get the good voices that will lead to adulthood as a gifted shaman. The series of shaman's death that must be conquered in a child's life is an absolute battle. You know, so the finest shamans in the world today are those healed healers who walk the path of death and rebirth, destroying and facing the shadows that block their inner clarity. Once the person has experienced a hard-fought road to wellness, it becomes easy to assist others in doing the same. It reminds me of what David said when he went to Saul with the Goliath. And Saul says to him, speaking as an earthly king, he said, you can't beat this guy. This guy is a giant. He's 12 foot tall. He's been a man trained in war from birth. How do you think, as an 18-year-old guy, you can beat him? David calmly said, with the help of God, I defeated the lion, I defeated the bear. He said, when the sheep were at harm, I protected them. Every single victory I won. This giant is no different. I will beat this giant for you, and I will cut his head off, and I will win you back your freedom. And he did. He went out there without any fear. The willingness to confront anything in the self that is not serving the sacred path to wholeness is admirable. The shaman's death, though, is not just for shamans. That's good for everyone here for you to hear. Anytime you wish to change old habits and begin life again in a new and more productive way, you experience a shaman's death. In the Mayan Aztec caves, or symbols for rebirth, is the bat. The bat hangs upside down in a cave, just like humans make ready for birth upside down in their mother's wombs. The darkness of the cave is safe for unborn children. In leaving the womb or the cave, each person is forced to look at life and shadow. Then they must make the decisions as to which of the sides of the self will allow for further growth. The shaman's death is a symbol of this growing understanding that inevitably leads to wholeness. And the final comment is the application. It says, in choosing the shaman's death card, you're put on notice that the death cycle or ending is in progress in your life or society as we're experiencing right now. Before the rebirth can occur, the habit, attitude, relationship, or part of self that is dying must be looked at. Assist the process by consciously allowing the old to be removed and don't fight it. Let go and make way for the new cycle of life to take hold. As my Vedic astrologist said this week, who's worked with Angelina Jolie and many top people, and he links with many world-class people, he actually wanted to have a call with me yesterday. He was that excited. And he never does this. He said, I found all this stuff about Australia and about your path. I said, I just have to tell you. And the one thing he told me, he said, it's really important to realize you're in a horrendous astrological cycle as a country. And he said, America is too. He said, do you know what the remedy is? I said, what? He goes, tell every one of your people to start going inward. He said to forget about fighting on the outward and go inward. He said, and I'm not saying you don't fight out well. I'm not saying don't speak out like I do. I am pushing back majorly. I go into places than that. But he said the main focus has to be on the inward shift. He said in a Ketu cycle, it's all about past lives and karma. And with a Rahu with that, it's all talking about demonic influence. The best thing you can do is do energy work, spiritual warfare, and go inward. Okay, so that was the card I read for you. Who really resonated or got a message out of that one? Serena did great. Who found that mind-blowing? For me, that just was mind-blowing when I got that. I was like, wow, man, that's just so cool. Yeah, Shan was found to course catch up today, but found this link. Know why? Yep. It's good, isn't it? It's a good one. Yeah, this is the wisdom of the Amazons and the Aztecs shamans. So I've been studying a lot of that in the deeper teachings of Krishna and the shamanic teachings in there. And yeah, it's very, very effective. What you tend to find, everyone, the more you go inward and deal with the dark arts, it's very easy then to deal with it externally. I find now when I go into places, I don't even virtually, you know, I had the Midland pub owner tell me, you're the first person I've ever let in without a mask in the 2 years. He actually told me that and we laughed. And I went in there with complete victory within my heart, but I had a lot of, you know, I was very much, you know, at peace with him. I wasn't there to fight with him, but I was there to assert the truth. So Marika asked, can you please say more on a karmic backlash? Yeah, look, basically karma, there's a saying in the Hindu teachings and also in the Bible, in the book of Galatians, Marika, that it says that you reap what you sow. It's the law of karma. Every karmic seed that you sow in your lifetime or in this one you reap. And that's a country. Australia's karma for what we've done in America, you just have to go back over our history. It's dreadful. It's horrific. And we've never really repented of it. We've never really made it right. We've done all kinds of little skipping over it, but we haven't. We haven't faced stuff. So the seeds have to play out. Then there's two ways you can deal with your karma, the shamans know. One is you go inward, you clear it on yourself and you work on the karma before it comes to light. That's way number one. Way number two is what the vast majority do, and they have to live out their karma, get their asses kicked, get anal swabbed, get things shoved up them, get segregated, lose their jobs, lose their freedoms before they finally start to go, hang on a sec. Maybe there's a deeper message in this. Maybe I should stop blaming the government. Maybe I should stop blaming Bill Gates and blaming this person, blaming that person. Maybe I should just start to wake the fuck up and see them as my shadows rather than blaming these people. Maybe it's time to stop blaming Mark McGowan and insulting him and calling him a clown, because all I'm doing is insulting myself when I do this. And that's what the shaman thinks. The shaman just goes, shit, I'm the problem here, or the consciousness I live in. My frustration I have to work on myself. It's not about the government at all. It's about the people who live where I am and having to not judge them and find a way to work with them rather than just dismiss them as the biggest fuckwits that have ever existed since time began, who I wish were all killed in a genocide. And that's just me speaking my absolute shadow, my truth. I would be secretly very happy if just there was a big wipeout. But in saying that, the fact that it's not is because it's teaching me something, and I'm learning to work with people rather than just dismiss that part of myself. And I'm learning better. I'm finding I'm getting better at dealing with these people now. I'm getting stronger, more dirty, but at the same time, more compassionate at the same time. So that's how the shaman sees things. Like, what is the lesson here? Like, I'm not going to blame Bill Gates, because I was asked to someone, so how would you be if you met Bill Gates and you had a chance to have coffee with him? I said, yeah, I'd have coffee with him. I said, really? Go, yeah. I'd have a chat with him. I'd have dinner with him and probably have a bit of a laugh about how stupid people are. And I would just kind of be curious to hear where he's coming from. I said, because he only can do what he's doing because of what the people are saying and what they're doing. I think a speech by the Fremantle mayor this week summarised everything when she was asked, why did you guys not choose to, stop the vaccine mandates in Fremantle when you had the chance? And she said, because the bulk of the community doesn't want that. And she said, from what we can see. And I thought, and the thing is, she's actually right. If you study polls, the bulk, if you go by pure polls based on 2 million people, of which 2/3 are really stupid, that is actually the truth. And the 2/3 generally have to go through incredible suffering or death before they wake up. And so the shaman knows that and learns to work with that and tries to find ways to wake people up in those levels to start to shift the consciousness and sees that when we're all together in this group, there's a lesson to everyone. So yes, Monica says we have to take responsibility for where we're at. We are because of what we've done or not done. We're created now. To get out of this, we have to know internally what we can do. And I'm going through a deeper level of shadows dealing with, and my own inner fears and inner things I try to hide and brush under the thing. And I actually said to someone the other day, for example, and I'm giving myself new challenges at the moment to confront my shadows. You know, I'm spending as much time around pro-vaxxers as I can and radical pro-vaxxers, because it's making me learn to work with them as well as confront their idiocy and attack it, but do it in a way where I can work with him rather than just and walk away. I'm going into places, and what's funny is I never went to pubs before this happened. I don't like pubs. I think they're awful places. I'd rather go to a, organic cafe. I'd rather go sit in South Beach. I'd rather go, to some kind of, love and light vegan kind of, retreat with some spiritual people and do music, any day. But I've been going to pubs to do that, I was saying to someone the other day, I've come to the conclusion, I said, for example, one thing I said to them, God, I would love to discuss one day in one of our webinars about, the benefits of prostitution versus normal relationships, because prostitution is much cleaner. You just walk in, you get your sex, and you don't have all the other stuff. Now, I said that is the most incorrect thing to say. And I said, I'd love to go through that and collapse that energy, for example. The shaman confronts the very difficult issues, and the issues that no one wants to face because it makes them face their deepest inadequacies. And for me, these are kind of stuff that make me face my deepest inadequacies. So the shaman's death and rebirth, ultimately in combating the dark arts, it starts with the deepest level of shadow work you will ever do in your entire life. It literally means you go right into the pit of hell and you do what Charles Spurgeon, the great preacher, once said. He once said, when someone said to him, about why he did the kind of preaching and work he did, he said, most people who are Christians, because he was a Christian, he said they really seek to enter the gates of heaven, the celestial abodes, worship God, and enjoy the love of God. He said, for me, I prefer to build a rescue shop right in the middle of the gates of hell. And I remember thinking that kind of sounds like what interests me. He said, I want to build a rescue shop right in the middle of the gates of hell. I mean, and he, extraordinary guy, Spurgeon. I mean, I found him fascinating. I didn't, some of his messages I didn't really get into, but his story is extraordinary. He had a church of 6,000 people in the 1800s at age 19, considered by many as one of the greatest preachers and speakers. At age 14, he chose to renounce all of what his other teenage friends were doing and devoted himself to prayer and study of the mysteries and the teachings. And by the time of 19, he had a church of 6,000 people. So he's someone worth listening to. So we spoke a lot about spiritual warfare, as you remember, 2 weeks ago. And that is also, by the way, everyone, why we're really starting to vary up the diet of City Awakening. That's why I don't speak as much anymore, generally once or twice, most twice a month, usually once a month. That's why we like Steve to speak, William to speak, Grace to speak. No doubt there'll be others, because you get a varied diet, so to speak. If you ate steak all day, it's not good for you. If you sat there eating cabbage all day, it would drive you nuts. So I always come more from this attack in your face perspective. Great. Steve brings a very balanced, good teaching kind of perspective. Grace does her energy clearing and brings her feminine. William then brings his own style where he teaches an even more simpler way than me. So this is what we spoke on last time on spiritual warfare. And of course, I just mentioned a couple of scriptures on this sort of stuff. And it's worth remembering this. I more wanted to remind of what we spoke on last time about the realm of the mind and how we're not dealing with soul power stuff, but we're demolishing these arguments. And that's what we're aiming to do, and take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. But I just mentioned 5 different points. I went into the spiritual war that was ahead of us. You may remember I covered our legal heritage. I'm showing this because to bring these back, you've got to be willing to fight. You know, you've got to be willing to step up and push back. All these documents came in, and all of them had one thing in common. They acknowledged Almighty God. They all had a strong spiritual foundation of moral, ethical, spiritual, godlike principle. All of them. All based on the Holy Bible. And that's why I always in Australia use the Bible first and foremost, because that's the reference point we understand. If I was in India, I'd be mainly teaching from the Hindu teachings, for example. If I was, say, in Utah, I'd probably be teaching from the Book of Mormon. So you learn to work with your culture, but ultimately it brings you back to the one God, the Almighty God, the Creator, the ruler of all. And the King James Bible acknowledged that. And that's why that became the framework of our society. And that's why the dark agenda has been in place, as we talked about previously. And they know about the importance of the sacred scrolls to empower humanity. And that's why book burnings through history, and even though right now we don't have public book burnings, we're having energetic book boundaries, like this book is hate speech, and this book is that, and this isn't seeker friendly, and this isn't that, you know? And things like that. And there's a good reason why all of the elite, in fact, Peter, the astrologer, my Vedic, was telling me, it's well known that the elite deliberately manipulate the birth date information on the internet because they don't want people to work out their astrological background and past lives, which they can do. So, for example, Hillary Clinton, he said it took him a lot of work to find out her real time of birth. And once he did it, he pretty much said, literally, she's incarnated the devil herself. It's incredible. He said what her charts show who she really is in her lifetimes and that. But he said, if you go on the internet and use what's given on there, he said, she seems like a perfectly okay person. Barack Obama, it's almost impossible, he said, to find out stuff about him. He's hidden everything. So about his birth date and his time. And so they know this kind of stuff. So the dark want you to be stupid. And unfortunately, the Western world, because they've created a bunch of fattened up sheep who are very addicted to their pleasure, very addicted to visit granny in the UK, very addicted to basically go and get drunk in the pub, very addicted to keeping their way of life and being able to travel and doing an Instagram shoot in Hawaii, you know, very, very addicted to basically getting laid in Amsterdam in the red light district before they turn 30. They know that it's not difficult, but all they have to do is make sure it gets into the mainstream media, control the mainstream media, project the thoughts, and they've got an army of their own. They've got an army of woke warriors who will go around there in intellectuals, academics, intelligent people, doctors who will just get up and say, you're a conspiracy theorist and you go against the science, and they start to shame you and make you feel guilty and make you feel like you're stupid. And they do it really, really well, like exceptionally well. So, and they know, and then they say, well, the Bible doesn't work and all this kind of stuff doesn't work. And, you know, this spiritual stuff's gobbledygookly, it doesn't align with science. And they just say stuff which deep down they're pissing themselves laughing. I remember going to the Freemasons Lodge for the open day in 2004. I went there with a friend. And I was just in astonishment. They had the King James Bible sitting in there and they're reading from it. And I ended up putting my hand up and I said, so you guys have the King James Bible in this pure form? He goes, absolutely. And he said, that's the basis of the lodge. He goes, yes, it is. I said, doesn't it say that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life? And they were like, well, yeah. And it got a bit awkward, like, where are you going with this? And I said, but you guys are kind of, so if it's saying that, don't your oaths and everything go in contradiction to all that? And of course, they actually ended the meeting in record time. They go, oh, you know, we have a very tolerant approach to all religions. And they kind of did that. And then before I could say anything else, so anyway, no more questions. We're going to finish off today. Thank you for coming. And I was like, wow, you know. And my friend was saying, I told you, didn't I? And of course, that really opened my eye. And then when I met some friends who'd come out of Satanism, who they'd come to my workshops and came to me privately and going like, wow. They're like, one guy said to me, do you know, he said, I've been going to churches since I became a Christian, left Satanism. And honestly, he said, the blood of Christ has been my salvation. He said, it's literally helped me clear the dark arts, which ruined my life. But he said, when I try and explain this to pastors, they just think I'm an idiot. He said, you're actually the first guy who's saying the stuff which we do. He said, we used to do all kinds of satanic rituals and dark arts, and we'd go into covens, we'd go into bushes, we set up altars, we do blood sacrifices and everything. And I said, yeah, well, I'm glad someone's coming and actually telling me. There's one of my Facebook friends online, you know, he's a former Satanist, Aaron, and he was very advanced in what he did. And he left it for that same reason. And he and I talk pretty regularly. He's a friend of yours, Max. And of course, Aaron just said to me, you're like the only guy I come and watch some of your stuff. And we'd laugh. And every now and again, we'd go trolling together, because his favorite thing was to go into love and light groups and just troll them for fun, and other groups. So every now and again, I'd join him and we'd have some fun trolling. He was like my pro-vax trolling group buddy, where we would just go and give shit to people. And so the thing is, these guys know this, okay? They know that Australia and all these places have very strong satanic councils. They have dark arts sorcerers who work very closely, who control the government, who tell them what to do. They know that the battle has got nothing to do with the physical, and if you can win it in the spirit, you've got the city. And that's what frustrated. When I first found this out, I was distraught, absolutely distraught, with frustration, because I would be running seminars trying to show people this. I'd even do workshops and clear the effects of the dark arts over people years ago, and Grace would remember all this. And then people would just kind of, not really listening. So yeah, Max witnessed the demonic stuff around him firsthand. Yeah, well, I had a friend, Max, who in Adelaide, a pastor who was an AOG pastor. He was an absolutely, he thought that this whole thing was a bunch of stupidity. And I remember when I went to one of his churches first and we would talk, and he just kind of was like, kind of people like us, he said, you can believe what you want to believe. His whole paradigm got blown away when he ended up getting one of the top Satanists, who came into his church and actually to get out of it. And she was genuine. She'd been a sex slave within the Satanic Church in Melbourne. She said to him, you don't get it. She goes, they control the whole police force. And he just used to say, oh, yeah, okay. And then he said, and making mind control things. And then he said he witnessed things in his church. He was in an absolute astonishment. Like, she'd be sitting there, and next minute he'd hear this whistle. And he'd say, what's that? And there'd be a guy at the door doing a whistle, and she'd get up and run. And then she explained to him how the whistle was a form of mind control and thought manipulation. And there was all kinds of stuff which he said just completely blew his theology out of the water. And he said he had to learn everything in record time about spiritual warfare, how to protect his church, because all kinds of weird things started happening in his church. Now, like I said, I just thought today, you know what? Either after this week, our numbers are going to cut in half or go down to 10 people. And I'd rather have 10 to 12 people who actually can resonate with what I'm saying and are willing to say, fuck this, let's just learn this and stop this shit going on in our country, because if we don't break the power of the dark arts in Australia, you will not, I'm telling you, we'll be New World Order bitches. Whether you like it or not, you'll be, if you're not vaccinated, you'll be rounded up, taken to camps, and you'll have them shoved up you. We joke about it with Dr. Bill, but it will happen for real, over the next 3 to 5 years. It will go that way. And the one chance of stopping that is to break the power of the dark arts in this country. So one chance. And I've known that for years. And the fact that I've had difficulty getting people to listen and, about it. And I'm like, nah. So the one chance we've got is to break the power of the dark arts. Well, Donna, yeah, it'll either explode or people think I'm an absolute moron. If you think I'm a moron, then if you don't fuck off, I'll tell you to fuck off. And people have heard me do it on webinars. I love kicking people out of our group every now and again who are idiots. It just gives me joy to be an absolute moron and an asshole. I'm in the process of designing a whole series of T-shirts right now that are designed to piss as many people off as I can, just for fun. Things like, I don't believe in bodily autonomy, one of them will say. And another one has got the Chief Health Officer is my soulmate. And it's got a picture of our Chief Health Officer with love hearts with me and him together. I'm just doing these ridiculous T-shirts, memes, and I've got to have one with Dr. Bill saying, bring anal swabs to West Australia. My design is to just get everyone absolutely pissed off as much as I can. Yeah, Max, I'll let you know, because we're going to just sell them. And I want to create an army of trolls. That's my aim, and just go after this dark arts. That's kind of how I'm feeling right now. I'm fed up with this. And I'm fed up with watching our country being taken over by fucking communism and just sitting there going like, ooh, Mark McLeod, and doing some stupid fucking rallies without doing this at the back. We start doing this kind of stuff, and yes, then these rallies will have an impact, So yes, Penny, you were a Satanist for a year. It's real, absolutely real. And it's more fun to be a troll. It really is. Trust me, everyone. It's more fun. I had a wonderful situation with a family member this week. It was just the most joyful moment for me. She tried to put, she started saying to me, oh, it's really good about your views and I respect your choice, but, I saw this interesting meme the other day. I go, really, what was it? She said, well, it said, People have no trouble driving in the left-hand lane because of safety. People have no trouble wearing a bike helmet because of safety and wearing a seatbelt. But then why won't people get vaccinated for good community? And I said, you know what, Mum, I agree with you. You know, I said, I really do agree with you. I said, I don't think people should have any rights over their bodies. I really don't. And she kind of looked at me. I said, seriously, I don't see the point. I mean, like, we should let the government shove up us whatever we want. Like I said, you know, don't you, in Wuhan, China, be using anal swabs now because it's more accurate scientifically. She goes, what? How does that work? So no, they just drop your ducks and they shove a swab up your ass and get a sample. She goes, that's really invasive. I said, no, don't be ridiculous. I said, you know, if you can force a, you know, jab into people, then there's nothing invasive about that. I said, why are you not willing to bend over for WA? And she just had this look on my face of absolute horror. And I said, I'm going to be petitioning to bring anal swabs in WA. And I'm actually thinking of just preparing a petition and just getting it out there. And I'll say to bring anal swabs because it's more accurate and just start going around and sending this thing around there. And I said, seriously, I said, personally, I think we should start segregating against coloured people again. I said, because, you know, black people and white people are really different, and also gay people. I said, plus, I said, you know, I literally, you could just see that everything, you know, she's eventually like changing the subject, and I was forcing her back to it, and she's changing. In the end, she just kind of like almost forced the subject to change. And it was just like, yeah, it was so much fun. Yeah, and so learning to be a troll, to do the right thing, you know, like bend over for WA. Exactly. Yeah, make WA great again. Yeah, actually, I'm going to write that one down. So bend over for WA. So it's learning to win this battle in the power of the mind and the spirit, and we've got to do this. This is why I've been holding off getting this energy project I've been mentioning that some of you know about, but I'm going to get onto it. I've got the PowerPoint set with Sam. We're going to teach people how to do energy work, because some are called to work in the background, and I'm so grateful for Grace, because for those in the front line, you need the people in the back, you know, but then there's also pushing back and just doing it in a clever, conscious way, you know, and do it. Because seriously, this is bullshit, everyone. And this is all about dark arts, satanic, telepathic thought manipulation, you know. So it's time to learn the skills and the way to fight back against this and to stop this shit from going on, you know. And I'm certainly going to be getting you busy, William, and everyone else, to make sure that, you know, that we get a good army of people in the background covering the people doing the work, you know, from energetic dark arts manipulation, you know. So yeah, and look, if you want your country not to be a New World Order concentration camp, and can't think of any country more likely to go that path than Australia right now. We are the most compliant, stupid country, most self-centered sheep that just fatten us up, shove up us whatever you want, just plug it, let us go to the pub, man. Let me go to my cafe. Just let me get my hair cut. Let me get my beauty treatment. Like, please, let me go to Vegas and get laid. I mean, we're that fucking dumb. We really are. We're that dumb. Oh, I just want to have a soulmate relationship. Like, duh. I mean, seriously, the most likely country ever in the history of planet Earth to go into a New World Order, have concentration camps, round everyone up, shove them in there, just shove up them whatever you want. I mean, seriously, that's the most likely outcome at this stage over the next few years. But I believe with everything in me we can stop this. I actually do. And a bit like until I dropped, I fought for Sammy. And that's kind of what I decided this week. Now, you know, either in the next 3 years I'm going to get publicly fucking martyred or something like that, and I'll have a fucking anal swab shoved up me and killed in front of everyone, or we're going to stop this shit, because I have no interest in living my next 10, 12 years of my life in a New World Order concentration camp. I don't know what anyone else thinks about it, but that doesn't particularly appeal to my way of thinking or my way of life. So yes, I'm passionate today. Am I extreme? I'm completely extreme. And that is why it's good that we've got people here who balance me out. I mean, I love Grace. I think Grace is like one of the greatest people that was ever born, you know, because she just balances me out so, so well. She just reminds me of things, you know. She gets me back grounded, you know. You got like William, who's just great. I've got James and Ed. You know, I've got really good grounded people around me who just get me back to my body, get me back to grounding, get me back to the beach and that kind of stuff. But deep down at heart, I'm a warrior, I'm a troll, and I'm an absolute arsehole. And that's the one gift I can give is I believe with everything in me we can win this war. I actually do. And we just have to overcome the stupid people, and even the stupid people. You know, the one thing that gives me some promise and possibility with all of this one is what it says in the scroll of Isaiah. You know, it's a promise I was given years ago about what's going to come to Australia, and I believe it. And if it happens in my lifetime or after it, I believe in everything within me that we will see this in our country. You know what it says in Isaiah 32. It says, "Behold, a king shall reign in righteousness, and princes," or the actual word is politicians, "shall rule with justice. And a man shall be as a hiding place from the wind, a shelter from the storm, as rivers of water in a dry place, as a shadow of a great rock in a weary land. And the eyes of them that see shall no longer be dim, and the ears of them that hear," in other words, the fuckwits, "shall no longer be dim, but they'll start to see. The ears of the absolute morons shall start to listen. The heart of the rash and the stupid dumbnuts shall start to understand knowledge. And the tongue of the stammerers and the fearful shall be ready to speak plainly. The vile person shall no longer be called liberal. No longer will these vile satanistic fuckwits who are running the country, commies, Fabians, be called generous and liberal, nor the evil said to be bountiful, because they will be seen for what they're doing in their hearts." And in terms of how we combat it and break the power of the dark in this country, you can go even further. My other promise that I was given in Isaiah 35, where it says this: "The wilderness, the spiritual wilderness and the wasteland shall be glad for them." And Australia, of course, is the land of the deserts and the wasteland. "The desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose." You know, America is very similar, by the way, for those of you from America. "It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice with joy and singing." But read this one here. It says, "Strengthen the weak hands, confirm the feeble knees." In other words, strengthen the people around you and help them find their power. "Say to those who are afraid and scared shitless of what's going on, be strong, don't fear. Behold your God." In other words, the higher mind, the higher energies, the higher spiritual life force and power will come with vengeance, with recompense, save you and give you the power to stand up and find your freedom. And then it promised that the eyes of the blind would open and the ears of the deaf will be unstopped. The lame man would leap as a deer and the tongue of the dumb would sing, for in the wilderness waters should break out and streams in the desert. So, and in verse 8, it says, "And a highway shall be there." And many people who've had visions and seen the afterlife and seen the cycles of death and rebirth have actually seen like a super highway, which is the way out. It's like a liberation from moksha or reincarnation. "It shall be called the way of holiness." Holiness means separation. It means you separate yourself from what's going on. It means you refuse to be part of it. "The unclean shall not pass over it." And it says, "Even fools shall not go astray anymore in that highway." So I really believe, everyone, we've got a chance. I really do. I believe we're in a war of consciousness, and it's our civic duty to push back in some form. It's to push back and just say, no, 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 no. And it's important to balance it out too. You know, take rest, go inwardly, go and have some healthy food, do your exercise, stay grounded. This is why I've got good people around me just to get me back to work, get me grounded. Remember me that everything's not just about a big, long pushing back war, you know. But, you know, learning the techniques to push back against the common law we heard, you know. I went through the various ways that we can do it, like doing nothing, getting up guns, outright disobedience, wise compliance. But the biggest thing I mentioned last time was about prayer and energy work, as well as outright frontline civil disobedience combined with wise strategic non-compliance. And that's the secret here, you know. It's getting all the threads working together and really being willing to push back and realize that any golden age that we're going to see will come because of the action that we take. And in the book of Enoch, which is in the Dead Sea Scrolls, it says, "And I saw till a great sword was given to the sheep, and the sheep proceeded to slay the beasts of the field who fled before their face." And when you read the context leading up to that, it talked about the dark takeover of the world and the Western world and how it would literally lose its freedoms. But then it actually saw the people step up and take back their power and take back their land. So there's a prophecy in the Dead Sea Scrolls that we have a chance to win this. And it's important to remember, when we challenge consciousness norms, we will always invoke response. You know, the powers of the old order will turn against us. But it says here that the darkness hate this because it exposes their evil deeds. They don't like it. The dark forces and the telepathic thought adjusters and the dark sorcerers don't like it when we do this. and the government, because it actually exposes their deeds. It exposes their plans. That's why we're subjected to a war in our minds. And that's why it says the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent, in other words, the spiritually violent, take it by force. In other words, not those who are, little pushovers. So these are the ways it happens. Telepathic thought adjusting and manipulation, mass hypnosis known as mind controls, hijacking the mind. Thoughts are flying around in the astral realm all day. That's why Psalm 91, and that's one of your best weapons, everyone. Psalm 91. I will not be afraid of the terror of the night. And I know this in the mystery schools. Psalm 91 and Psalm 23. Some of you here know that anytime we've got dark attack going on, you just pull that little weapon out. I will not be afraid of the terror of the night, nor the thought arrows flying by day, nor the thing that creeps in the darkness, or the demons who ravage at noonday. Because fallen intelligences are doing everything to block the fifth dimensional ascension, evolutionary change by attacking spiritual humanity. They're doing anything they can. The dark forces, the dark archons are working through these people. You would have already felt a shift in the energy just by me reading Psalm 91, an extract from it there. Just know that they're manifesting as grotesque mutants, unformed in a lower DNA template, who are seeking the light codes of the indigos and sons and daughters of God because they cannot create in the higher DNA template image. They are attempting to steal our energy encoding, hence DNA experiment injections take place, is what's going on. Like I said, I'm really going out there in what I'm teaching today. I don't know how, whether people come back, but you will find out. Revelation talks about a cosmic war. In the mystery schools, they teach about this lower mind, higher mind battle that's happening all the time. So there's this lower mind that's constantly trying to enslave people and bring people back into lower energetic vibration. So there's this constant higher mind, lower mind battle. So Michael the Archangel works in the realms and the regions of Sagittarius. It talks about in the keys of Enoch to help, release and break and shift the powers of the lower mind over humanity. We have seen this happen many times. We have been feeling attacks, and we've gone and we've worked on in those realms and in the frequency fence and on the devices and seen a shift. And I just realized that we now need more help. There needs to be more warriors on deck, because what's going on right now, you all would have felt the increase in darkness, the increase in those of you who see it in the spirit would have seen the increase in demons that are just like flooded in the last few months. And those of you even who don't would still be feeling what's going on, and all is something is just going on. Knowing who we really are helps us to step up and help liberate other souls. One of the things in Psalm 91 it talks about, which is well known in mystery schools, is the 4 grotesque archons that attack people quite heavily. So Psalm 91 especially talks about that. So if you read Psalm 91, which I will do right now, I'll just quickly take you through that and just read this out, and you can see this. And just notice the words and see it from a new meaning. He that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he's my refuge, my fortress, my God, in him I'll trust. He'll deliver you from the snare of the fowler and the terrible pestilence. He covers you with his feathers, and his wings shall be your trust. His truth is your shield and buckler. You won't be afraid of the terror by night, nor the arrow that flies by day, the arrow of thoughts, the pestilence that walks in darkness, or the demons is what it says in some that lay waste at noonday. 1,000 may fall around you at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it won't come near you. Only with your eyes will you see and behold the reward of the wicked. Because you've made the Lord your refuge, the Most High your habitation, no evil shall befall you, nor any plague come near your dwelling. He will give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways, to bear you up in your hands, lest you dash your foot against a stone. And now here's the 4 archons named. You shall tread upon the lion and the adder, or the lion and the serpent, the young lion, which is more accurately interpreted as the basilisk, and the dragon you will trample underfoot. So the lion and the young lion, it's actually not quite correct. It's the lion face power, or the lion power, and the basilisk, and the serpent and the dragon are the 4 archons. Because he set his love upon me, I will deliver him. I will set him on high because he's known my name. He will call upon me and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble, deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and I will show him my glorious salvation. And the mystery schools talk about all this. The seven-headed basilisk, which you also read about in Revelation 13 and 17, which is also known as the beast, which is bringing in the New World Order mark. So you'll see that in Revelation 13, but the mark of the beast, the eventual microchip, which the vaccine right now is a precursor for, to get people used to having things pushed into their body they don't want pushed in. That's the seven-headed basilisk at work, okay? The serpent or cockatrice gets you right into the lower mind, or misaligned kundalini. The dragon works with the serpent, and that's talked about also in Revelation 12 and 13. And the lion-faced power. The false sons are what's called chakra reversal or manipulation. This is a counterfeit of the Son of Righteousness mentioned in Malachi 4, verses 1 to 2. The Son of Righteousness known in the mystery schools, and in fact in my book, which I'll show you, The Secret History of the World, that book there talks specifically about this Son of Righteousness. And the book was written by Jonathan Black, and he goes into all the mystery schools and teachings to reveal the stuff that's hidden from humanity. And he explains about the Son of Righteousness, and it's quite powerful. The Son of Righteousness, basically what it says in Malachi chapter 4, I'll just actually take you there. So Malachi 4 says, "Behold, the day comes that shall burn as an oven, and the proud and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. But unto you that fear my name," in other words, that fear and honor the higher mind and the higher vibrations, "shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and you shall go forth as grow up as calves released from a stall." In fact, the actual word in the correct translation is "you'll go forth and skip like calves that have been released out of your stalls. And you'll tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I will do this." In other words, you'll have authority. When you connect with the Son of Righteousness, you find your power, you find your authority. You start to walk out there with this militance and with no fear, and just go straight after the forces of darkness, and they will run from you. That's what the book of Enoch says, that they will literally run from you with fear. When they see you coming in the authority, where you got the Son of Righteousness behind you. But notice what it also says. "Remember the law of Moses, my servant." In other words, remember the common law. Remember the law of God, the law of Moses. The whole Western law is based on the law of Moses. It actually is. The Holy Bible is the basis of the whole legal system in Australia. So to call back, remember the law of Moses, remember the higher law by which was given to you that would guide you in your path and give you strength, confidence, and moral stature. And then he said, "Behold, I will also send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, and you will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse." Elijah the prophet was a militant prophet. Unlike the other prophets who'd work in the background and heal people and guide them with wisdom, Elijah went straight against the forces of Baal. He took their forces of Jezebel head on. He took the whole New World Order straight head on. He went against 400 dark satanic sorcerers and said, "I dare you guys to try and kill me." That's the difference with the spirit of Elijah. It goes straight against the forces of dark, and there's no fear. And until now, the prophets have been hiding in the background as shamanic workers. And now is the call and the time that if you know this is your path, that the spirit of Elijah will actually warn the people, or warn people's consciousness and wake people up. And that is the one chance we've got of waking this civilization up and getting things back on track. And you see the workings of Moses and Elijah in Revelation 11, where it says, "I will give power to my two witnesses, who will prophesy 1260 days clothed in sackcloth. If any man will hurt them, fire proceeds out of their mouth and devours their enemies." And some translations say, "But words of fire will go out of their mouth and devour their enemies' consciousness." That's another way of looking at that. "And if any man will hurt them or try to cause them damage, he will be killed in the same manner. They have power to shut heaven, but it rain not in the days of their prophecies, and they have power to turn them to blood and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will." You will see interesting days and days ahead, because the great cities of old, before the destruction of Atlantis, they moved in power where this was actually happening in the physical. they would have government New World Order equivalents in the days of Atlantis coming in there to force their country into submission. And the city shamans would walk out and just lift their hand up and people would start dropping dead. They would start seeing like volcanoes start to erupt upon them and they would run in terror. I have no doubt we'll see that in these times, you know, for those who really step up and start to hunger with everything in them to walk in the power of the cities and the shamans and the power to overcome the dark arts, you know. You can read that in Teachings of Atlantis and in The Fall of Atlantis by Shirley Andrews. She explains about the cities who had such power that literally, it was said of Enoch, he had such great power that as soon as he'd walk into a place, they would flee with terror because of the authority that he had just with his word to make people tremble and fall on their knees. So this is talking about a level of authority and power which doesn't come easily. But to do that, we have to conquer the four archons that are listed in Psalm 91 verses 13. The seven-headed bacillus, the beast, the serpent or cockatrice, which really aims to get you back into your lower mind, your lower sexual energy and keep you trapped in there. And again, the shaman owns their lower sexual energy. They own it, but they don't live by it. In other words, it's not their driving force. It's just something that they know is there and they'll work with it. You know, every now and again, I'm a man, I need to go out and have a wild sex, you know, get my lower mind dealt with. But by and large, it's something that's managed and kept under control. The dragon works with the serpent. The lion-faced power is a counterfeit of the Son of Righteousness. So these archons are warring against our consciousness all the time to try and get us back into the lower mind. It's placed beautifully in Psalm 62, where what it says in Psalm 62 in verse 4, it says this. It says, they only consult to cast him down from his excellency. In other words, and another translation says to bring him down from his high place or high status. In other words, to knock you down into a lower energy. In dark art sorcery, I remember when I learned about this, they know they can't touch you if you're in the higher mind and higher frequency. They can't touch you. So the first thing they do when they're planning an attack on any great leader, person like that, like a Trump or anyone, is they've got to find their weakness and get them back into their lower vibration, and then they can get them. There was a great preacher in Australia 30 years ago who literally was changing the whole of Queensland, like phenomenal miracles, great teaching. Queensland was waking up. And they literally brought in 100 of the world's best dark art shamans because they couldn't find this guy's weakness, and they finally found it. And he had an addiction to his lower nature and to women, like an addiction. And they managed to get him seduced behind his wife's back with a dark art sorceress to get him into all kinds of illicit affairs and things like that. He got exposed, the church kicked him out, and that was the end of the church. So there's always different ways that they've got, and they'll find people's weaknesses. So you are in a war, and whether you like it or not, you're in one, you know? And that's why the Gnostic teachings talk about this war between the carnal essential and the higher mind. And the archons and elite know this, and they want to manipulate our consciousness constantly. The seven-headed basilicus, I just copied some slides from our mystical teaching. It's basically representing the seven chakras not aligned with the tree of life. The serpent is talking about the lower kundalini, getting you back into lower nature. The dragon works with the serpent. Revealed in Revelation 12 as the adversary of the woman, the mother of the Christ race, represents the entropic forces or dualistic programs you're generating within the system. In other words, the falling consciousness that we're dealing with. And the lion-faced power is like a false sun, a lower version of the sun, and a lower form of energy or soul power, so to speak. The other one too, which is a cockatrice egg, and that's a common implant that's done on people. This is a very dangerous one, which can be put into people, for example, and actually, as soon as they get in their path, they trigger it, and next minute you've got all kinds of health problems. I found every time I start to go all out in the shamanic path, I would get hit with liver and gallbladder problems every single time. And it was like, got me to the point I was too scared to ever really go fully into my path until I discovered there was an implant in my gallbladder. And as soon as William helped me clear it out of that, it stopped happening, got on top of it. And so these things are real. They will find your weakness and they will hit you. So with all of that having been done, and no doubt I've given you the biggest shock and wake-up call you probably ever had in your life. Probably some of you have never heard anything like this before. And today was just literally me coming into a sledgehammer and blowing a nuclear bomb into your heads before the government and the archons do this, because you'll be having it over the next few months. It's going to get heavy. So, and Sam Buckley used to get a migraine every time she started slipping out. Yeah, that's a classic cockatrice eggs then. You know, no doubt you've been when it got cleared. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over. Notice those words too. This is why I would love to be sitting with Mark McGowan, Bill Gates, Daniel Andrews, and have a meal with them and just have a chat with them, because that's what the scriptures tell me. You can sit with these people. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I'll dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So Psalm 23 is a good weapon for you. Start using that daily. That and or 91, even both, if you're really serious. Just read them once a day. Get into the habit. Notice what happens if you do that daily for the next week and notice a change. No, we're going to be getting up our energy clearing videos and putting them on our site and getting them out on YouTube over the next week. And we'll let you know as soon as they're up. And Sam Buckley and I and William will start training up this energy working team, because my aim is that every day that at least a few people will be working on our states or on our country to keep the energy clean, to start that process going, you know, and start to get work happening, work to combat the dark arts by going through the clearings, going through the rituals, and to undo their stuff, because we're going to have to start to war in the spirit if we're going to win this now. And I plan to win this. I don't plan to lose. I don't like losing. I was a very bad sport when I was younger. I broke numerous tennis rackets and numerous squash rackets, as Grace will tell you. So I don't like losing. So 4 final tools I'll just mention to you here. Name it and speaking it out. The reason that's so powerful is by me naming this today, this has already started a victory, and you'd feel it. Like, I'm sure many of you already feel clear in your mind. Me reading the Psalms, like who noticed when I read those Psalms, it's like your mind cleared. As soon as I read them, you felt this, oh yeah, like your mind just went even clearer all around your, you know, keep your Catheric chakra, your that stuff. Yeah, Joan and Tony, Sheldon, Mindy, yeah, both sensitive to energy. You would have felt it especially around here, all around here, the 6th, 7th, and 8th chakras. So you would have felt that clearing. Naming the 4 archons today, that, and just naming them, and just letting the blood of Christ just settle over that, and their power over this group of people and over all who do this work can neutralize the effects of these 4 archons: the 7-headed basilisk, the serpent, the dragon, and the dragon, the serpent, and there's another one, I've just had a blank, and the lion face power. So that's the first one. Second one is you and just any kind of spiritual teaching, getting committed to energy spiritual work, like constantly. Make it almost a daily thing, doing your own, getting involved. When I was a kid, in fact, I was saying that to my sons. I said, the reason that I got through a lot of stuff, I said, I used to fight with my mum because I went to church every day. I just wanted to be in doing prayer and energy work daily. I just said every single day. I was like hungry. I was so hungry. You couldn't keep me away from it. Because I worked out early on this was the path, and you couldn't keep me away. I used to argue. I'd have friends ask me to go to the pub. I had no interest. I'd say, I don't want to go. It's boring. I'd go to nightclubs. William, who goes to nightclubs, said to me, he goes, I wouldn't go to nightclubs if I went to the kind of church you went to. I said, mate, so church was miles better. I said, we'd see people getting healed. I'd say we'd see releases. We'd see miracles. I said, I didn't want to go to a nightclub. I was getting miracles. I said, I was meeting really nice girls there, not, you know, idiots in the nightclubs, you know, who are kind of just whatever. I was meeting really good ones, you know. I met Grace through church. We got married through church. Using scripture and sacred scrolls. So reading the Gnostic teachings, the Gnostic prayers, you know, reading the Bhagavad Gita. That's going to be one thing I'll be bringing in, which is one of the great teachings of the Hindu Bible, the Holy Scriptures, the Book of Enoch, having your Bible. Start with your Christian Bible, get that Holy King James, because it's the foundation of Australia's legal society. But the more you get into this, you'll be led into other stuff. You can use the Shield of David and Sword of Michael. So when you're reading the Psalm 23, that's activating the Shield of David, and you can do that with an intention. But think of Psalm 23 as the Shield of David. Think of Psalm 91 as like the Sword of Michael. That's kind of what that is, as well as the Shield of David. So they're good ways to activate them. And call on the Earth's energies and higher technologies. So the Earth's energies are really good to do that. So the Earth energies and things like that. So finally, before we end and I take questions and feedback, I mentioned this last week, but this is one of my favorite stories, you know, and based on the book of Josephus, is based on a true thing that actually happened. In a similar time to the now, the men had lost their balls, they'd lost their power. And so many women I speak to are like, what has happened to our men? It's the women who are pushing back by and large. It's the women who come to these meetings. It's the women who are stepping up and speaking out on the jab. It's the women who are protecting their husbands and saying, no, you're not going to get it. Even to look at this right now, you know, it's good that we've got some men here. Still, there's no doubt that men are the minority. You know, as I walk through this right now, I'm probably estimating there's maybe about, you know, 8 to 10 men or something like that, and probably about 30 women. That would be about my estimate. I mean, that's encouraging. I mean, 10 men is quite a few compared to what we've had previously. So, but this is what happened. Even Barak and Deborah just simply said to him, and keep in mind, they'd been taken over by the Canaanite culture by a king called Jabin, whose enforcer was a man called Sisera. Sisera was one of the most brutal warlords. He was powerful. He had chariots. Anyone who took him on always lost. No one ever beat him, ever. He was like could be invincible. And so when Deborah told him to go out and take him, he was just like, have you lost your fucking mind, woman? He goes, this is Sisera. This is like the Canaanites. This is like the most powerful, brutal, corrupt culture. The Canaanites, by the way, are the descendants of this current group who are leading the New World Order, because the Canaanites sacrificed to Moloch, they did child sacrifice, heavy pedophilia. They used to regularly sacrifice to Moloch, to another one called Chemosh. All the stuff they do in Hollywood today, drink out of skulls and do satanic rituals, and they control it through merchant and financial corruption. And so to take them on. So when Barak went to take on Sisera, he was doing the impossible. And when he went out there and Sisera's army is coming towards him, and no doubt he's wetting his pants, as Sisera's was coming towards him, out of nowhere, the dam busted up the creek, came down and swamped Sisera and his army, and they got trapped and they couldn't get out. And they were all over the place trying to deal with it. Their chariots lost all their impact. And Barak just ran in with his army and they wiped out the army of Sisera. It's an extraordinary thing when you read about it. And there's many, many accounts like this and throughout history that you'll read about of impossible victories. It was well known that George Washington, if you actually read his diaries that many people didn't even know existed, every single day before he started in the revolution, he was on his knees praying. He was praying to Almighty God and saying, guide me in this battle. The British are far stronger than us, because they were. We have no hope without you. Guide us. And he'd be shown visions. He'd see ambushes coming. He would be given strategies. He won an impossible victory. Lately, I've been doing something I haven't done since I was a kid. I've been on my knees many days. I get on my knees and I've started praying. I bow before the Almighty, because it's like my way of saying, if I'm being called to lead and do something about this, then I must be under authority, and I submit myself totally to you. And by me bowing and putting my head to the ground, it's like my way of saying I'm nothing compared. You know, I submit to a higher order. My will, my dreams, my personal desires, my life, my way of being, I give to you. I give my life. I surrender all. And, you know, I remember when I was 18, and I was skeptical but hungry, so hungry. I went to church always, but I was not really feeling much for 2 years. But I was so hungry, I couldn't keep me away. But one night I was broken. I thought, you know what? I'm so miserable. I'm so depressed. I can't seem to break, you know, these weaknesses in me. I can't seem to break my fears. I feel so inferior. I don't even have the courage to speak to a girl and ask her out on a date, because I'm so scared of rejection. And I was at 18. I spent my whole life being bullied. I was a coward, which I was. I don't even know how to fight. I'm pathetic, you know. And I was just on my knees, and I just remember saying, you got one chance tonight, God, to show me you're real in some form, whatever form that is. And I went that night to a youth meeting, and I can remember the preacher get up, and he was speaking, an evangelist called Mark Bateman, and he said, there's a young man here today, someone here, and he said, who's saying, unless I experience God tonight, I'm not coming back anymore. If that's you, come out. And I was just like, fuck. So, of course, I went out, he started to pray for me, and he said, God, you're skeptical, aren't you? And I said, yeah. And he said, just let go. And I eventually did. And all I remembered was going into a trance and falling over and being out for hours. And I came up a different man. So I know what it means when the Bible says, verily, verily, Jesus said, I say to you, you must be born again. In other words, it's not like some weird church or ritual. It's where you must have a revolutionary change. You must have a shamanic death. You must have a death to your old man or woman and a rebirth as a new way of being. That's what he said. And I always get tears when I tell about it, because I remember I got up a changed boy. My fear was just lifted off me. I thought my days of being a coward are over. And I just thought, and my sister then came up to me saying to me, you must have really hurt your head. I said, well, what do you mean? She goes, you hit your head really hard. I said, no, I didn't. Someone caught me. She said, no one caught you. So I realized I had truly encountered something pretty special. And I'd been in a trance. I came out, I was speaking in a different language, all kinds of weird things happening, all the stuff I'd read in the Bible. And I thought, now I've just been born again. I've experienced the real. I went and actually got water baptized, and I just found my power. I remember the next week when I was in church, I just went straight up the front when they did a call, and I just said to the guy, I'm devoting my life. I said, I don't know what I can do, but I said, my life as of now is given to God. I said, I'm going to teach the teachings, and I'm going to do this. And he just looked at me and goes, wow, I can feel it. And next minute they prayed for me, and I had another encounter. And then my next 7 years, I had many, many more. And Grace and I used to laugh about it. I would go to conventions and they'd have great prophets and psychics come out, and they'd be calling in a big group, and I'd be the one called out. They'd specifically call me out and start to speak to me. And I remember just getting on my knees, and all I said is that when our country gets into trouble, give me the strength to stand up and not be a coward, because I knew it would come one day. Grace and I were shown in 1992 that we were going to be taken over by communism. I remember she was shown that, and I was shown that the day would come, and we were horrified. And that was one of the reasons I got more involved than ever, why I started teaching and doing seminars back then, because I knew this day would come. But I always used to pray and say, when this day comes, give us the strength to stand up and not be cowards, because I know my natural instinct I am. I don't like to stand up by nature. I prefer to be in the background. And many of you would find that hard to believe, but Grace will assure you that's true. By nature, I get scared of conflict. When I went to a psychotherapist 25 years ago in a health mess, he actually said to me, you just got no boundaries. You got one of the worst sense of boundaries. I was just a wreck. The one thing that would give me boundaries was my prayer life and my connection with God. And I had to learn to build everything, face my shadows, face my darkness. And it's just the other side of facing it. But this today is a call to a radical commitment in your heart, a radical commitment, and say, I'm not going to be the same man or woman again after today. And I'm going to step up and just do my part. And like me, when I came, I came pretty much as a loser. At the time, I was a loser. And I just said, look, I'm an inferiority ripped guy. I have a low self-worth. But I said, in you, I said, God, I can find my strength. I remember hearing Peter Daniels, who was a guy who talked about he was actually illiterate. He had never been educated properly. He had mental difficulties, special needs kid, had an experience with God similar to me, and just basically read the Bible and said, you know what, if I truly claim to be a man of God and follow Christ, then he said, men of God aren't losers. We're winners, and we fight and we do what's right. And he made a decision that he would break his family's conditioning. He failed in 3 businesses, but 20 years later became a billionaire. Probably one of the best teachers I've ever heard in this area. Came and spoke at a business convention I was at, not of Christians or not of spiritual people. And people were just literally stood up and gave him a standing ovation. And I'd never seen it before. And he just talked about courage. And I remember him getting up and actually saying, some of you men are the biggest pussies I've ever seen in your life. He said, seriously. He said, grow some balls. He said, you're sitting here watching this go on. He said, you're scared to step up in your businesses. You're attached to your money. He said, you won't follow your dreams. And for many men, I'd say to you today, and women and everyone, and I'm preaching to converted today, but I know what he would have said to many men. He said, you go and you give away your body to autonomy, you go against your truth, and for money, you're pathetic. That's what he said. You're absolutely pathetic. He said, get your strength back. And so I remember him saying that. Step up and get some courage, get some integrity, and run your businesses with conviction, with honesty, with integrity, and stop swindling your customers and grow up. And I remember he just got a standing ovation, and because he spoke from his heart. And, you know, this is a guy he's literally a billionaire, one of the richest men in Australia. Not many know about him because his wealth's well preserved offshore and in all kinds of places. Because, yeah, his son and I got on very well. And remember, his son, one of the best asset protectors, and he and I were involved in a lot of freedom fighting conventions and speaking up and humanitarian projects together. He does a lot of work to help women in sex trafficking, for example. And his son's a very passionate crusader for common law and for freedoms of Australia, and still is. So there's a lot of good things happening, everyone. And I would just, you know, encourage every single person right now today to go away. Doesn't matter who you are, where you're at, how low you're starting from. It doesn't matter. You just have to say, however you understand God, and this is not even giving you some fundamentalist things, but it is an almighty God. Whether we understand that through Krishna, Vishnu, understand it however. In the West, we understand through almighty God, through Christ, through the almighty Father, through Mother Mary. So as you understand that, just make that commitment in your heart today. It's the best thing you could do. And let's step up and fight back against this dark out take over our country. And let's beat it. So on that note, really, I've spoken with probably the strongest conviction for ages because I'm sick of what's going on. And yeah, we can't do it without people like you and others, you know, stepping up and getting the word out there and just getting people along, getting people back to their spiritual priorities. You know, like I said, either today we'll cut in half, or who knows, maybe just start getting people to come along and listening and finding our freedom again and getting the courage and strength to build a revolutionary movement. We don't need a lot of people. In the story of Gideon, it just took 300 to win their country back. We don't need many. We don't. We can take Australia back. It took a small, and America, it took a small number of people and sorcerers and dark art sorcerers to take control of those countries. It doesn't take a large number to get them back. So let's feel free to share your lessons, and I'll invite Steve and, you know, Grace to come on.
Yeah, thanks, Warren. Really powerful message today. It reminds me of that, what you've been saying for several weeks of, you know, Father, don't make it easier for me, make me stronger. You know, and that's a really important thing. I think it's a scary thing as well, you know, because we look for the easy way out. So, Father, make me stronger.
Thing is, Steve, if we can take control of the dark thought, of the thought realm of the people, you will see it happen. You will. This is how the Great Awakening. You will actually see suddenly people like waking up, convoys of trucks, like in Canada, just everywhere in Australia. We will see it happen in the physical, but first we've got to break it in the spirit.
Yeah.
So, how did you find us, everyone? I was pretty intense and pretty heavy. How did you find it? And who is more keen on ever than before, or who he's less. And like I said, just be honest. It doesn't worry me either way.
Maybe Dr. Bill's got a few more fans after today too, Warren.
Oh, my T-shirts. Yeah, Jazz and I are working on that. I love Penny. Was it heavy and intense? Yeah, you're basketball, Penny. You really are. Awesome, Max. Yeah, it's good to see you. Max did a lot of work helping me. He went around clearing satanic sorcery over the Gold Coast. So looks like, Max, we're going to have to get you back to work again, mate. Yep. You must have felt the call, Max. You must have heard the voice calling you. Yeah, feeling it. What about you, Grace?
What about me, Warren?
Not about me.
What about me? All I can say is I'm just enjoying the inward journey. This year is basically for me fine-tuning myself, all the lessons that I've had to go through, and actually really, really applying it deeply in my journey. I know that I've created a lot of fantasies in my life. I've been kind of been airy, earth, and so for me, it's my lesson really is coming to earth, grounding myself, relaying the foundations, and yeah, just really connecting with others, really connecting with the people that I'm close to, and it feels like a new beginning kind of thing for me. A numerology actually. I'm coming up for one this year, which means a new beginning, and so depending on what I sow this year, that will take me to the next 9 years in numerology. So I'm being conscious about that, conscious what I'm sowing, conscious what I'm doing internally and everything that I do with myself and with others as well as in business. So yeah, so it's relevant, the message today, because the message to me is, the practicality in the physical world. What my intention is in the physical world. So that's where I'm at.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you, Grace. Well, you think about it, Grace, so don't you remember like when we met like 30 years ago and how when we were involved in church, it was so different. Like it was radical calls to action and to stand for what we believed in. You remember it?
Yeah. Back when we're in our younger years, we're full of life. Well, we do have life now, but we're just on fire with making a change. Let's make a change in this planet. Let's do it. Pick me, God, shall we say? And let's get on with it.
Yeah, we did. You remember we were just like whatever it takes, because that's what we were taught to do, like be willing to fight and believe in something. And I remember when you first came, you were so afraid. You were so afraid of the dark. You were afraid of the demonic. You had virtually no boundaries, and then you changed so much just because you found the path and a purpose.
Well, I think you read the Shamanic, didn't you? The Death and Resurrection of the Shaman.
Yeah.
So I guess owning that shaman side of me to meet the darkness. So ever since I can remember, I've had fear of darkness, as you know. One time do you remember one time you turned off the light because you thought, oh, you can't be real, and I couldn't move. I could not move. It was I was paralyzed because I couldn't see at all, and so I'd have to overcome all those things over the years. So it's just part and parcel of learning lessons, aren't we, and overcoming our fear and overcoming what we need to do. Part of our human side, I guess.
Yeah, I can't help thinking of his words, but I remember there's this very good song from Darlene Zschech with Hillsong that this is the lyrics. It says, "Come to the Father, though your gift is small, broken hearts, broken lives, he will take them all." I think it's really important to remember that right now, that, it doesn't matter where you're at, we can make a difference.
Yeah, well, and one other thing stands out for me is the Psalms 90, 91 and 23. I've mentioned it before. My mother had a very difficult passing, and the two verses that actually brought her peace and stopped her ranting and raving in her dementia and facing her karma as she was leaving this world was Psalm 91 and Psalm 23. With Grace and William's help, we got her some peace and enabled her to cross over to the other side. But the power of those two verses would turn her sort of from a raving lunatic into finding some peace and sleeping. So, I guess I can attest firsthand the power of both 91 and 23. And, your recommendation to read those every day, is a really good reminder because I had forgotten that, So yeah, I think that's a really powerful. You talk here about what actions will you take. Well, for me, it's reading both of those verses every day, if not at least a hell of a lot more regularly than I have.
Well, you remember Rebecca Brown's book, Dr. Rebecca Brown, who she actually helped a Satanist witch get out of it. And she writes in how he came to set the captives free. And I know Christine Evans, if you have read that. Remember, she said that Elaine told her that they used to regularly do telepathic attacks upon people who were doing a big work. And there was this one pastor she'd never forgotten. She said, we sent our best sorcerers and dart over him. And when we got to his house, he was surrounded by angels. There was so much light around him, we couldn't get near him. And we realized this guy had a power, and that was what got her thinking, okay, there's a power bigger than ours. And this pastor used to read Psalm 23, Psalm 91, all that kind of stuff daily over his life, and the blood of Christ.
Yeah, so we've got, I mean, today has been really, really powerful, and some really good tools to use to help fight this battle, from the very personal one at the start, the emotional spiral, to, you know, those Bible verses. So yeah, it's been a really good day today.
This is a good book. If anyone wants to learn about spiritual warfare, but in a really fun, good way, it was a fiction novel that's, you know, Grace and that love this. It's called This Present Darkness by Frank Peretti. It's a fiction novel, but anyone who's involved who can see in the spirit are like, this is like the most accurate book they've ever read. It teaches spiritual warfare and what really happens, but in a fiction story like Harry Potter. It's a really good book, and the basic story is about a town they've taken over, and they're changing everything. They're getting control of the law, the courts, everything, the school, and the eventual aim is once they control the school, they'll control the whole town, because it's a city of education. And talking about the one guy who was a real problem was a pastor who used to pray daily and pray the Psalms and pray the scriptures over his life and over his people, and the ways they try to attack this pastor and the people around him in his church. And the book is so accurate for those who've done this sort of work. It's a good book to buy. It's Frank Peretti, his name is. It's called This Present Darkness. He's got a follow-up book called Piercing the Darkness as well. Both those books are superb. I mean, who here has read those books? I know Christine's read it. I know Grace has read it. Anyone else? Christine audio book, yeah. Sam and her teens, yeah. Best spiritual warfare training manual you'll just about ever get.
I agree, Warren. If I could just say, I listened to the audio, and it feels like now that it's coming to pass what's in that book. It's just incredible, really. It's to sort of feel that thing, and what they did. The thing that really struck me was they often said, the heavenly host would say, we don't have enough saints praying. We can't do the work yet. We have to wait for the saints to pray. So basically, in a nutshell, that's us coming into our within, going within, as well as reading those scriptures, because they found in that book, I know it's fiction, but it seems like the same thing. As soon as you get to that place where you can go within and conquer your own darkness, something happens that you're freed from that thing. And I feel that when lots of people are doing that, the heavenly host will be helping us more and more.
Yes, so true. Yeah, in fact, there's a scripture which is Yonggi Cho, who built the greatest church in Korea of 1 million people. He always said his secret was daily prayer, like constant prayer, you know, like daily. Like in his church, every single day, he has people praying for him. He has people praying over the city of Korea and over his church every single day. He personally prays 3 hours a day. This is a scripture which, in fact, in our City Awakening Trust Deed, which we run this movement, it's interesting when you read it, actually says that one of the objects or visions of this group, which when we set this up, Grace and I, like years and years ago, was to set up a group of watchmen or energy workers on the walls of Australia and America that would just not stop day or night, that 24/7 there would be prayer and energy and intercession going over our country to clear out the dark and keep them out. And this is why I want to get this started this year. And it says, I've set watchmen upon your walls, which will never hold their peace day nor night. And they'll give the Lord no rest till he establishes and makes Jerusalem a praise in the earth. In other words, when the city's in trouble, the watchmen get up and keep going and going and going until we break this, you know. And no, but it will literally, if we don't break it, it will cost us our way of life, our freedom. We cannot imagine how bad this will get. If you actually go into the mystery school teachings and you learn about in the underground movement, what I learned, what they've got planned, and the FEMA camps, and I don't talk a lot about it because it invokes fear, but when I'm talking to shamans and warriors, which we've got here, you know, if you know the plans, they're worse than you can think, like much worse. You know, we're talking about FEMA camps and worse than that. Imagine your soul being microchipped and being manipulated constantly 24/7, not just in your mind, but in your body and in your energy, and where your body is dependent now upon the government just to be able to be healthy. You know, they've got terrible plans, and it can be stopped. Can be stopped because the Bible says that. The Bible shows that there will be parts of the world that will go into this, and there's parts that will not. And my prayer with everything in me is Australia will be one of those that will not. And there was a prophet years ago who said Australia would experience, and America, the greatest awakening that the world had ever seen, that they would actually see the land of the West would rise up, and there would be a move of the spirit and energy across the country that would wake the country up. And many have spoken that over this place. So, yeah, Sashi, my gosh, I can't believe you said that. You're saying when you die, your soul will be kept in the cloud. Yeah, you're exactly. That's what I was showing. Imagine where you can't even die and get out of it because you'll constantly be trapped in this realm of nightmare you can't get out of. So yes, you're right. When you die, your soul will be kept in the cloud. Yeah, that's the kind of microchipping. So yes, that's what Revelation talks about. Yes, I was shown that too, but I just haven't said that, you know, publicly really to people. But that's what I was shown in visions. In fact, being really honest, everyone, when I was shown this 4 years ago, I went semi-insane for a while. I was so distressed by what I was shown. My health fell apart. My state of mind broke down for quite a while. And I had to fast. I had to go through a lot of help to reintegrate myself and get grounded again. So, yes. So this is worth fighting for. Really is. I'm like, fuck these motherfuckers, you know. This is our country. This is the people. And let's do our karmic duties that we've been assigned to do here. We chose to be here for this time, and it's worth fighting for. And I'd encourage you to do that. So what we'll do is Grace, of course, runs your energy work. For those of you who are keen to be more involved, just let us know. We will be getting out these things happening this week. We will be getting more active stuff happening. No doubt we'll be doing more and more teachings. In fact, William, just to let everyone know, my son, who's like my best, who like we got really close, brilliant shaman. I regularly actually pay him to do clearings on me. He's that good. William is about to start offering. We're going to be running a webinar this week on how to keep yourself clean. And William's going to run it and share about it. We'll be announcing it pretty shortly, or if we haven't already. I think an email's already gone out. And what we're going to be offering at the end of that webinar, just for ethical disclosure, is what I do is I pay shamans to keep me clean as well as do my own work. So he's going to be offering for those who want a daily clearing, and you won't be physically on it. He'll just daily, anyone who's on his list, he'll go through and do a clearing over them. And then once a week, there'll be a group clearing, like for about 25, 30 minutes every Monday. So is there anyone interested in that? Because it's going to be happening this week. And this way we can start the process of getting people cleaned up. And anyone who's part of that group and committed to it as well, of course, we're going to be running shamanic schools this year and shamanic teachings. So yes, make sure you register. William will explain it. If anyone's really keen as well, just to get straight away, if you message, just like I said, message us on Telegram or message, myself or William privately on Facebook or whatever, we can get you straight on the way of it and come along to the webinar. But yeah, we're going to be offering a really low cost clearing for people where it'll be a daily thing and he will do as a group. And of course, there's always options with William to work one-on-one. And this year we're going to be doing a lot of courses on energy clearing and energy reading, like a lot. This year we're going to be doing mind control implants clearing. We're going to be doing DNA ascension. We're just going to go all out this year to raise the consciousness because we need a strong army whose energy frequencies are cleared. I mean, if we could just get 30 people so clean and so clear, we can take this whole thing, Irene, can you remember about to start the Bible or another book? Yeah, the Bible's a good starting point, the King James, and just starting with Psalm 23 and 91. And Yeah, look, reach out to Grace and Christine, or Grace, sorry, more on the energy like chat group, Irina, because yeah, like they run different groups and things like that. And yeah, you know, just basically little energy things. And Psalm 23, Psalm 91's a great place. Yeah, Sharon got rid of her implants. Yeah, William helps me clear them and got all mine cleared out as well, Sharon. So from him and from other stuff. Yes, with the Telegram group, Irina. Are you in the City Awakening group? Yeah, so I'll let Grace put something, you know. So the best thing to do on Telegram is, well, Grace, it's your group. What do you want to do, or like how would you like to be able to, you know, people who come along to those things?
Actually, when you started sharing about it, Warren, I was just thinking about letting the group know that we run that every day. So it's a daily thing, 6 days a week, actually. So how we're going to do it? Well, if you can just put on the City Awakening that you're interested in joining us on the energy work, then I'll send you the Telegram link and go from there.
Well, Sam Buckley could say, yeah, either you or Sam could always help you out with that one, Grace. You don't want to do the admin of it, but yeah.
How about we put a poll on the Telegram on City Awakening, those who want to join the energy work.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do that after this.
Okay. And then we just have to get the names. Yeah, we need to get people to give their names, I think, because the poll doesn't reveal whose names it is, though, does it?
Yes, it does if it's not anonymous.
Okay.
Are you in, Irina? Okay, that's cool. Then we'll have to see, because currently we're doing it 1:30 p.m. Perth time daily, Monday to Saturday for 30 minutes. And it's very, regimental, where we don't have chit-chat. We just get on with it for 30 minutes. Oh, that's actually a different one, Pamela. Well, you've registered with Sam. So
that's a different one. Yes. So Grace runs an energy reading where or energy work. She's different to me, as you know. She helps people understand. She's probably better than me. Our group, although we're doing a more different kind of group, but yes, that our one's going to be doing more masculine spiritual warfare, going through a process over our city structure. So we're going to be having two different things working together, but doing different things to cover the same thing. So yes, definitely both are very compatible, just different. You know?
Yeah, the energy work that we do, there's about, I think, 8 of us now that we meet up every day. So what we do is we really focus on frequency and vibration, tuning into one another and being able to be in sync and really collaborating in each other's energies, and really operating in that sense. So we do have our own format, but it's a different format to Warren's. And as I say, it's only 30 minutes and it's very, shall we say, it's not a social club. We just get on with it.
Yeah, no, it's good. So Grace does daily regular ones. So yeah, and we need that. I mean, I'm very grateful for what Grace is doing, because I'm sure, Grace, you guys are covering me all the time for the work and others, aren't you?
Yeah, what we do is we put those who are close to us or the work that we do. So, for example, for me, everything that I do in the businesses and that's working closely with me, I put them in a circle every day, just for protection, for increase in the expansion, just continue to, increase in every way. You don't have to come every day, Irina. The purpose of us coming every day is that, it's a daily. When you do meet and gather together daily, you kind of get in sync you become in sync with each other. So, again, the purpose of that is that we, for example, Penny and Chris and Christine comes every day. And we notice that the difference in actually meeting each other it just has an impact. But as I say, yeah, you don't have to be there every day.
That's awesome. Well, it'd be great. The more warriors on board, the better. Because, yeah, let's just say that there's a lot of dark arts manipulation going on right now. So, yeah, in terms of the Telegram link, Donna, I think, Grace, what you're going to do is people are going to mention on the Telegram City Awakening group, you're going to put a poll straight up, aren't you? People will kind of respond to that one, and then you'll send them the link. Is that right?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll do it in Telegram. What about, are you on Telegram, Donna? Because some of you guys aren't on Telegram, I think.
Yeah.
So perhaps we can do Messenger. Oh, I don't know. I'll work it out.
Yeah,
See what-
Messenger, because Gemma's just mentioned that she's not on Telegram at the moment. So, yeah, I reckon I'll just introduce you on that. Maybe in the City Awakening Messenger group as well, Grace. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'll do that.
You do that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's I've got a separate account, Sashi, to the energy work, because what we do on our Telegram group, we share in each other's prayers, actions, intentions. We have diagrams, all the different modalities that we work together in the energy work. So it's a separate Telegram. But if you respond to the City Awakening, then I'll add you to the to our group.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate the fact that everyone's listening. It's given me a lot of hope, because I just had no idea how this would go. But I'm so grateful that people have listened, and it seems there are people wanting to step up. You have no idea how happy that makes me feel, because it's the one chance we've got to stop this shit. So thank you. Okay. Well, I think we're finished now, Grace, aren't we?
Yeah, well, you can talk all day for 7 days a week, right? So give them a rest, maybe.
Yeah, it's like people love listening to me teach. I'm great for that. I think you must be very glad I'm no longer your boyfriend, right?
Boyfriend?
I'm your husband, yes. You got... Yes.
Oh, my hat.
Awesome.
Okay, see you guys.
See you guys. Bye, man.